lane fast, call it high speed. I've been working hard, yeah, I've been working nightly. If you think you'll win, not likely. I be taking shots, yeah, cold-blooded, icy. Watching numbers grow is what I call sightseeing. In the front row, run it up when they hype me. The following grows, they know how to ignite me. Call me CEO, I've been running right, see. And I ain't playing games, I create my own lane, making pleasure out of pain, turning losses into gains, I'm the boss, I'm making change, I've been rocking this exchange, popping off and risking things, gonna make a f***ing name, I just wanna be famous, but I don't want that cheap fame, no I'm not that vain, I just wanna be greatness.
All right, hey everybody, thanks for coming. Today is the big double header, right? Sorry I couldn't make it this morning. The everything decided to not work at all, but got here for the afternoon show anyway, and we've got Dave from Captive Desk, and we're gonna talk. Well, we got Azzo here too, but we
just Azzo.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But we're gonna talk.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Ron Wyatt.
I'm going to Ken Hovitt's channel. They'd appreciate me over there. I'm trying to get a couple links here.
Hello.
So I can post them in there.
Hello, everybody
actually,
in the chat for joining us. Good to see everybody.
Yeah, I'm posting real quick before we get started. Jimmy the Tux, our own Jimmy the Tux, will be on Modern Debate. Matters Now tonight for their short night. So hope to see people there supporting Jimmy the Tux over there. And then I'll be posting Dave's 2 channels here in a second as they're talking. I'm going to probably stay in the background for the most part because this is their thing. And my mom's going nuts over the pup already. So here's the Grassman Chronicle channel. Hey, Jen, how you doing, buddy? You can talk about me all you want.
Yeah, so
I love that. I love that thing. You did excellent on that thing.
We're streaming in both places today, and this is, Dave and we've talked about Ron Wyatt and a few others like Ken Ham and stuff we talk about, and we were like, you know what, we ought to just get together and just talk about Ron Wyatt and some of the stuff, and like because people still to this day say that some of Ron Wyatt's discoveries were authentic and he found Noah's Ark and all those things. But we'll get into each individual, thing. But this has been something that's been around for decades now of people thinking that there's this guy that found all this stuff. And, we thought maybe
and it's not just people thinking. He had himself on local channels, Christian channels, and he was all the way up to the CBS Morning Show and 2020 with Barbara Walters. They all got sucked in on the hype. So this was a big thing. I mean, 2020 was, and we'll find out that the thing with Ron Wyatt is the next day, everything just kind of disappeared about Ron Wyatt because I don't think anybody bothered to do any fact checking. They just ran with the headlines, what we call clickbait, whatever. And then they all kind of, I think, got word. Do you know who Ron Wyatt really is?
Yeah.
And then you just didn't it just overnight he just disappeared.
Yeah. He this was I remember I was in like middle school whenever this stuff first started coming out, and they even somebody found Noah's Ark and all that stuff, and later, everybody just kind of quietly brushed it under the rug in embarrassment.
Yes, Logan, we're gonna cover the Red Sea with the chariot wheels a little bit and everything. We're gonna touch on the big ones. That's one of my favorite ones. The ones that you'll see circulating around are usually the chariot wheels. But the big story was the Noah's Ark. That's where he was on a lot of these shows, and it was sensationalized. Noah's Ark's been found. Noah's Ark's been found. So if you remember any of those, this was 84, 85, around 82 is when he started announcing that he found things. So right in that area, I was in high school. So, and I remember some of this stuff being on TV and everything.
Yeah.
And then, then he also, the chariot wheels, and he got busted that he actually threw one of them in the water and took a picture of it and stuff. And
there had been, and I didn't find this in my research, either when I did a video on him or preparing for this, but there had been a story that his sons were actually responsible for like placing fake nails and stuff at the Noah's Ark site. You got to be careful when you say Ark, because this guy found more than one.
Yeah, he found both of them. Yeah.
How do they work so well?
Well, one of the things too is that Ron Wyatt would often produce coins to prove that a certain date for a dig or a find or anything. He'd say, "Look, here's the coin that." Yeah. And it turns out that he was buying those coins, and he would keep them in his pocket for just such an occasion. So
I mean, that sounds like Ron Wyatt, actually. So yeah. If you know very much about the man, that sounds like something he would do. He was
now he paints himself, and so did everybody else, as very humble, meek, just serving God. Staying in cheap hotels, on the dime and everything.
Till you find out he made millions.
Turns out, yeah, that was all an act.
Yeah, I like how Kent Hovind announced him as this humble guy, and Ron, he don't care about the money, he don't care about the fame and all this. Well, when that's exactly what he did care about. But yeah, Ron Wyatt has found more, like, and I know people talk about Holy Grail items, and it's kind of a pun in this case, but this guy found all of the items that would be, archaeological finds proving the Bible is true. He found everything. He found, and again, we'll get into all the various things, but Noah's Ark, the Ark of the Covenant, chariot wheels, those are the big ones. And but he found other stuff too, and he was fleecing people to cover the payment for these things, and just not, and going out there and playing pretend. So Ron Wyatt,
and you will, I don't know if it's in one of the clips, if I saved it in one of them or not, but there is the benefit of the doubt that maybe in his mind he thought he was actually doing these things. So it's not exactly clear if he was just on the grift, or maybe, he wasn't quite straight mentally about what he was actually doing. Maybe he was, digging in the sandbox and playing with Tonka trucks, and he thought he was on a construction site, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it was him who made the comparison of Indiana Jones. It wasn't, it wasn't like people gave him that name. He gave him that name.
Well, didn't he even had a leather hat like him?
Oh yeah. He's got a hat, and he wears the tan
Ron
vest.
Wyatt was before Indiana Jones came out, at least the movies. Because Ron Wyatt was in the 70s. I remember that as a kid.
Well, his finds were in the 80s.
Yeah, his finds are all in the 80s. So
okay.
Yeah. Now
he dates back. Yeah, he dates back to like the 60s or 70s.
Right.
With that photograph that somebody took of the mountain from an airplane.
Right. And talking about the actual Noah's Ark one they thought was there.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that.
So that goes way back. But when he actually started getting busy and everything was in the 80s.
Well, I mean, Dave, you've assembled quite a quite a bit of information and stuff to actually show. So I'm gonna let you kind of drive where we go with this. Like, you just you pick wherever you want to start, and that's where we'll start.
All right. Well, I got a video, and it's got a bunch of little clips in it, and I figure we'll just play it a little bit and make comments on it.
Okay, so this guy
behind, I don't know if you can see, there's nothing. There's
Okay, this just so you know, this is where they are digging for the Ark of the Covenant. This is Ron Wyatt's archaeological dig.
the air hose. There's Frank laying the drill down.
Yeah.
And I am
The
going to
purpose
very
kind of
carefully
adds to it, doesn't
scoot
it?
down.
What's that?
I'd say the circus tent that Joe has around it kind of adds to the flavor, don't it?
that's all I'm not doing.
That's mine. I couldn't
I
resist.
thought that was part of that, trivia night one. Well, then you added to it then, Dave. Congrats.
I couldn't resist.
Yeah. Sorry. Continue.
But yeah, you can see this is they're rickety 2x4s everywhere. I mean,
Going every which direction.
yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing somebody wasn't hurt.
Yeah, exactly. Bunch of amateurs too.
A little at a time. Oh. You can see it's straight down. String with a bucket of rocks.
Okay, that's the first little bit there. This is him digging for the Ark of the Covenant. Now, basically, Ron was digging on some private property. He never really had any legit, permits or anything from any of the antiquities or museums or not. He got permission to dig on this. Now, there's also the story that what sometimes the Israelis, whoever's in charge, will do is when some of these Christian groups want to dig, they will find spots for them to dig. Okay, their spots like maybe need to be cleaned up, right? So that they'll give them some archaeology to do. And they're happy because they get to sift. And you could find some old stuff, some old pottery or something in these piles and stuff. And they kind of clean up some messes. And everybody's happy. It's a win-win, okay? So when Ron is doing things, when he says he's dealing with officials and permits and everything and stuff, no, it's like, this spot that he's digging in was it's on private property, and it was overseen by the Garden Tomb people though. And officially they said he never found anything, he never produced anything, and eventually they shut him down and told him don't come back because he was getting a little carried away and making a lot
more money
of
than they were.
well, he was, they knew what he was doing. And after a while, it became clear he was kind of never finding anything. So,
yeah, he brought all kinds of different donors and stuff to the dig site, and they would shuffle around in the rocks like they were doing there.
Ron was good about saying, I just need another $10,000.
Yeah.
I'm almost there. Yeah. We need another piece of equipment. We need another camera. We need this, that. We're almost there.
Yeah.
And apparently he would do this with multiple people all at the same time too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, there are stories that he wasn't staying in dive hotels, he was staying in nice hotels, and he was often accompanied by a lady friend that wasn't Mrs. Wyatt. So
His niece?
well,
Maybe.
these stories are always
Uncle
hard
Ron.
to these stories are always hard to verify, but people that knew him said, yeah, he wasn't he was doing all right. Okay.
Yeah. He now, does this include the part about the lawyer that they had go down in the hole?
I
So-
do. The one I do have the clip coming up with the cameraman that he hired that was supposed to be exclusive,
The ABN exclusive guy.
and he and some other folks went down in the hole when one evening when Ron wasn't around because he didn't want him. See, the thing is, only Ron relays anything. Nobody else ever saw anything. Not even his sons are always with him. It was always, I saw this, but nobody else saw it. So you have to take everything. And yeah, Ron has a lot of convenient excuses why he can't produce the film, he can't produce the photographs. And as somebody pointed out, anybody that does any kind of archaeology, even if you're an amateur, okay, you document everything. You string everything, you measure everything. Every little bit you scrape away, you take another photo, or you sketch. You document everything. Well, Ron was real good about just saying, "Take my word for it."
Right. The integrity of an archaeological find a lot of times is in documenting whatever you found in situ, in its natural place that you found it. And Ron just throws all that shit out the window and is like, well, it's dangerous down there now.
Look, and Carrie Ann brings up a great point, in my opinion. I mean, look at how many, King Tut, all those were kept secret till the very last minute. And Ron's out here saying, hey, come look at the site. We're digging.
That's what the one guy mentioned when he found Tut's tomb. One of the first things he did was document the door and the seal on it. He didn't just go bust it open and go running in there. He said, whoa, I've got a door. And everybody stops. Yeah, everybody stops and you document the door before you open the door. It's not like Indiana Jones where you just throw the doors open. It's like, no, the door itself is a find. Yeah, the door itself is a find. Everything is, Yeah.
Yeah. He they're down there with drills and 2x4s going every which direction, just making a bunch of racket and a mess, really. And he had actually claimed to have found the Ark years before this. And this is him refinding the Ark, is what it's supposed to be. Because I think it was 79, he claimed to have found it then.
I think 82 was official that he found it. But then in the late 80s, he was still saying, I just need another 10 grand to dig another tunnel. And it's like, well, what do you need another tunnel for if you've already found it,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, if you know
better
exactly
look at
where
it,
it's
Dave.
at,
You're
let's
not
go
very
directly to
arch-
it.
We'll talk a little bit more about let's touch on a couple little more here, then a lot of this will tie itself together.
You want this video back up?
Yeah, put it back up there.
Hopefully
Don't forget the circus tent. There it is. Yeah, I liked, who was it? Lo-Fi that said, I'm waiting for, or no, Vesta, I think. Said, I'm just waiting for a clown to pop out of there. And it's like, now I am. Well, I guess there is. Ron White will be popping out of there.
I'll leave that up so that we don't have to keep resetting it.
Yeah, let me.
Where is that at? I love it. Oh, here we go. Oh, it's Jen. Sorry, my bad.
Samples of it that I have taken.
For many years,
Development.
Bump it up
Set
there.
it up in the basement.
Oh, this guy.
the
Hi, William.
specimen sat untouched.
Okay.
Then in 1996, when Ron was in Great Britain, Richard and Elizabeth Reeves and their sons came to Nashville to our home. Richard had a new, unique, and very powerful microscope he wanted to show us.
Leviticus.
Okay, just this is where he claims this is blood that he's found in this cave, and that's what the sample he's taken, and he's going to give it to this guy for some super microscope looking at that he made up himself.
Yeah.
17:14 informs us.
What's that?
No, you're saying, Dave, that it's got to be official then if he's got a super powerful microscope for
He's
blood
one of
tests?
these ones that thinks that you can zoom beyond the capabilities of the lenses. Have you seen these people on YouTube that just keep cranking the focus and then they get all these crazy dots and they go, what is all this stuff? It's like, it's called out of focus.
He found the midichlorians.
Yeah, they, well, here, he'll tell you here himself.
Yeah.
Us that the
Hey,
life
GM,
of
how you
all
doing?
flesh is the blood thereof. Once again, scientists are finding out that the truths of Scripture are far more literal than they ever imagined. Tiny particles have been discovered in blood that are seemingly indestructible. These tiny particles are less than 1/10 of a micron in size, and while they cannot be seen using standard medical microscopes, new methods of microscopy have been developed, which makes it possible to see them in their living state. The French scientists in its early stage of development and set it up in the basement of the Wyatt's house. One evening,
Now, notice how they're preparing stuff here with their bare hands,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Mary
They're
Nell
looking
Wyatt
for
asked me to
DNA.
take a look at some material from a burial cave to see if these tiny particles were present. Without my knowledge, one of the samples was actually the blood sample that Ron had taken from the Ark of the Covenant dig.
Yeah.
Okay, now, yeah, what they did was he had these scrapings, and they combined it with sterile water because the sterile water makes all the difference after Ron scraped it into an empty film container. He didn't even have, you
With
know,
a huge pop tab.
yeah, he didn't have, what do they call them, sterile evidence bag type things or jars or anything. No, he used an empty film container for his sample, and then basically they mixed it with some water and they let it sit for a couple days. Now, I've done a couple of videos, maybe some of you have seen them, playing around with my microscope, okay? If you put dirt in water and you let it sit for a couple of days, you're going to see all kind of stuff wiggling around, okay? So they have this belief in these things that are you can't kill them. They're like the magical molecule that's in our blood, okay?
Yeah.
And that's what gives us life. And he believes that when he cranks up his super duper microscope, he's seeing these little thingies moving around and blinky, and these are these magical things that actually are alive. And because this was Jesus's blood that he scraped out of this cave, it's still alive. So then they're like, it's still alive because it's Jesus. The blood's still alive. All we had to do was put dirt in water and it wiggles around under a microscope.
It actually gets worse though, because this microscope, and he's got a big fancy setup sitting behind him there when he's talking, but this microscope was inferior to all kinds of different microscopes. I mean, this thing had a max magnification of 30,000 times, which isn't, you can see some stuff at 30,000 times.
Oh, yeah.
But let's not forget the electron microscope's been out since the 1930s and has 50 million times resolution. So it's not like this was some breaking new technology. They invented a shitty microscope is what they did. And
oh yeah, this was this guy's portable version that they set up in Ron Wyatt's basement. So this isn't even being done in a lab or anything.
No.
And that, I'm pretty sure that was Ron's wife, just using her hands and a screwdriver to make samples.
Yeah. Ron had actually claimed to have this tested by a lab, but he never says who the lab is, what they actually found, or he just made some shit up and said it was this, and it was the most like clearly bullshit argument he could make.
And see, everything connected with Ron Wyatt isn't necessarily bad. I'm just, shout out to Deconverted Man.
Hey, DM.
Says that basically, Ron Wyatt, it's why he lost his faith. So, that's the upside of nonsense, like that. I'm trying to find some of the other stuff that DM has said.
Here's a little shot of his museum. It looks like an old gas station.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And a lot of the stuff that he's had in there, he had a lot of problems with it being a fraud, like stuff made out of paper mache, literally.
It was like a gas station freak show like thing.
Yeah. But I had to include it.
Ron has artifacts and information on display from his fieldwork. For example, from Sodom and Gomorrah is this burnt spearhead and this burnt bone. From the Red Sea crossing site is a horse's hoof, and from Jerusalem are items found at the crucifixion site. We also met up with some...
Okay, so that's a little shot of his museum. And there was a lot of fraud claims, and where he got that horse's hoof, I don't know. I don't know how a hoof would look after 4,000 years, but that looked like a pretty fresh hoof to me.
Yeah, the what was the burnt bone? Like that looked like bone with soot on it, not burnt bone.
Right. Well, it's like
he also
the other day, Joe, about the pillar of salt that supposedly was Lot's wife. Here it is, 3,500 years later or more, and don't they think water would have, washed this away, or the wind, or erosion, or something that effect? It's just funny.
You got to believe.
Ron found Sodom and Gomorrah too, so
yeah. Hey, Buzzer.
Yeah, we forgot about that one. That was actually kind of a big one too for him, I guess.
I got a mention of it here coming up, I believe.
Yeah.
There's little cuts in here, so we just have to wait for it to catch up.
Is it sulfur balls?
Oh yeah, sulfur balls. Hello, Bree.
They got a cream for that now, Joe. So if your balls are burning,
well,
here we go. That's got to be our new goal, to go find DM a girlfriend.
Hey, Ron Wyatt can find anything.
Ron Wyatt could have found it.
Well, he could have. He is deceased now. So
tape to measure these things out.
All right, so here we are. Now this is the big one. This is with the Noah's Ark, and they got the metal detectors out because they're looking for the iron braces that held the beams together in Noah's Ark.
Far apart they are.
Oh, it's a metal detector. I was wondering what the hell that was.
Yep.
John, as a scientist, might I take the liberty here to ask you, do you really honestly believe that you have been on the remains of Noah's Ark?
I have no doubt in my mind. This has to be a man-made structure. It's full of metal. The metal has a regular pattern to it, and the size of the thing and the shape of the thing is such that it's almost certainly a large boat.
Dr. Baumgardner.
Now, mind you, a lot of these people are being taken out of context, and later on they said, hold on, that's being taken out of context. So, yeah, when they're answering, remember, this is carefully edited. So their answers are carefully edited, and the questions may not have all been there. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, not as obvious as it seems.
yeah, almost anybody that almost everybody that wasn't in with Ron Wyatt's little group has since said, it was either taken out of context or what they were speaking about was something else, or so. And all of them have said they've all rejected the claims that Ron Wyatt made. So.
Yeah.
So when would, and this is piggybacking on something DM said about, metal ? Would there have been metal back when the
this is
supposedly,
well,
I mean, for nails, but would nails have been there? Because everything
it depends. Yeah, I mean, if you ask Ken Ham,
round one over what was it, a couple years
No,
ago?
they wouldn't have.
They never used nails in it.
yeah, if you ask Ken Ham, and even Ron Wyatt in this said that there were evolutionary scientists telling people not to get on the ark. So they have a belief that thousands of years ago they knew maybe even more than we know now.
So
and part of
them.
Yeah, maybe it was part of the flood and the fall and everything. We got dumber or something like that.
We lost the technology then, I guess.
Yeah, but people like Ken Ham believes, that they could have had steel bracing and everything on Noah's Ark. So
Ken Ham had a
Brooke brings up a
blacksmith
good point here. Gopher wood is and I'm just, reading what she has. She's smarter in science.
There you go.
But gopher wood is a type of metal if you want it to be. Now, I don't know if that's being sarcastic or sincere, but
yeah. She's making a point there because
that's what I'm saying.
Whatever
wood is. Yeah, they've never identified what gopher wood is, so it's one of those Bible mystery woods.
I never thought of that. Good point.
But yeah, so what he thinks is that they're finding the lines of the iron bracing to the beams in Noah's Ark, and that's what they're hitting on. What they're actually hitting on is this is a volcanic mountain with bands of iron in it, and it's everywhere. So yeah, if you walk around on this mountain, your metal detector is going to go off all over the place because it's full of bands of iron.
Metal. Yeah.
Yeah,
they're
just following the scene.
But that doesn't sell. So
no.
And that's why Ron Wyatt could not get away with that today at all. Even close to it. Too many smart people around.
Each metal reading.
So basically, if you saw it, it was all they put all these grids out and everything. But what they're doing is they're hitting these bands, and you're gonna get. I don't know would it be considered pareidolia, but something like that. You're going to get it in your mind because you're seeing these lines and you're looking for lines. Those are the lines that you want. So, but that's another one of the expenses too. Ron Wyatt would go to these people and get them to buy these really expensive metal detectors for him to use. So
something else that isn't really obvious here is when they're up there doing this survey, there's other groups of scientists up there, but they're not even looking at any of this stuff where Ron Wyatt's messing around. They're off to their self over here shooting this video. Meanwhile, the actual scientists are looking at other stuff. And
let's pause for a moment for DM. He hasn't had wood since he's a teenager, so I think all us men need to.
Well, you're not going to find
a moment of silence for poor DM. They do make a pill for that, DM.
So but the Noah's Ark was the big one. So that's the one that was hitting the news. Like I said, I remember when it was on TV, everybody was talking about this guy found Noah's Ark, and you'll see coming up. I've got some things here. Believe it or not. That was a show too. Believe it or not, Ken Ham has always rejected Ron Wyatt's claims. Believe it or not. So that's one for Ken Ham. Kent Hovind, though, I think still cites Ron Wyatt to this day. And there's a video of Kent Hovind. I guess he spoke to Ron Wyatt in person in his home shortly before he died because Ron Wyatt got cancer and he knew he was terminal. So he did some videos and some talks and everything and stuff when he knew his time was up. And one of them was with Ken Hovind. So, but to Ken Ham's credit, they've always denied Ron Wyatt's claims. So, believe it or not. Yeah. Sometimes Ken Ham surprises you. He's not a flat earther either, believe it or not.
John, quit being a 12-year-old.
Hey,
Robin, how you doing?
This is by no means an endorsement of Ken Ham.
No, but you got to point out. I like to point out Pat Robertson, who's deceased now. I think everybody knows who Pat Robertson was with 700 Club, right? Yeah. Pat Robertson was way out there, okay? Demons and everything. And he would say, Ken Ham, knock it off. You're making us look silly. Okay? Then you have Ken Ham, who's Pat Robertson says, you're making us look bad, is saying, Ron Wyatt, knock it off. You're making us look bad, okay? Do you see the descending layer into chaos there, right? Yeah.
Shit. That's funny.
They then attached tapes to show the lines. This exciting evidence also attracted the interest of ABC's 2020.
The boat-shaped site was first found and photographed by a Turkish army captain back in 1959. It was quickly explored and dismissed as a freak of nature. But Wyatt, an amateur archaeologist,
mind you, amateur is an understatement. Okay, Ron had absolutely no training in archaeology whatsoever. He was some kind of a nurse that worked with anesthesia. Okay, that's his background.
Geologist
other. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Geologist said, hey, this thing's just a rock formation. It just looks like that. That's just your mind. Ron Wyatt said, hold my beer.
And anybody can go with Google Earth now, and if you go looking around, you can find these shapes. It's because there's a harder substance, and as the flows come down the mountain, it kind of tapers around the harder substance and then comes back around, almost like a double teardrop, right?
Yeah.
So you get that shape because of the harder material, right? And as the mud or whatever slides down, it goes around it like that, and you get these shapes. And people have shown it before. You go looking around on satellite images, you'll find these shapes all over mountains, all over the place.
That's just naturalism.
Kindled interest in it a few years ago. He brought in Dave Fassold, a marine salvage expert, to assess it. The Doomsday Mountain team brought in some high technology to explore the oldest legend of man. They began scanning their site with a molecular frequency generator. It's a device used by surgeons to pinpoint cancer tumors. And
to pinpoint cancer tumors. Now, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I don't think this is the right piece of equipment to be looking for Noah's Ark.
No. Notice they didn't say to pinpoint cancer tumors and find both.
Yeah.
So, probably when they said it's the oldest legend out there, wouldn't creation be the oldest legend, not the flood?
Yeah.
It's been used by Fassel to locate underwater treasure. This time, the molecular frequency generator began to pick up a unique pattern of iron lines beneath the earth.
Okay, bring that one up.
They began placing ribbons along those lines. The finished shape, outlined by the ribbons, was that of a huge ship, the approximate length and width of Noah's Ark, as described in the Bible. The fascinating field of ribbons soon attracted higher academic interest.
That looks like iron. Okay.
Dr. John Baumgartner, a physicist with Los Alamos Laboratories.
This is one of the ones that is taken out of context, this guy here. He's saying, well, yeah, it's obviously picking up iron. Yes,
Yeah.
But you notice he's not saying they're braces from Noah's Ark, okay?
Sent samples back to the lab for analysis and confirmed that the metal they were tracing with the ribbons was indeed iron. With the width and the length known, the only remaining question was depth. By locating the depth of the hull, they could...
Okay, now that was to show, and I didn't want to do too much because it was 2020, but this was primetime news, okay? I don't know if folks remember. Barbara Walters was top spot, right? Okay. Barbara Walters talking about this story, okay? I don't think anybody bothered to even ask who Ron Wyatt was, you know? I mean, first question is, does he work for, the Israeli or Egyptian museums, one of those big ones over there or something? Who is this guy, right? No, nobody seemed to ask who he was.
Yeah, just the it's almost like
Carrie Ann's got it. It's like mud fossilers, exactly. You just see what you want.
Yeah.
John remembers. Yeah, it was all over, and like I say, then the next day, I think everybody found out who he was, and you didn't hear another word about it.
Yeah. Yeah, because this stuff is like
determine
it's
if the boat-shaped object
did this shitty job, but this has all been proven to be completely false. There is nothing. There's nothing on that hill.
And like I say, when they're saying that it was picking up iron and it was tested for iron, yes, there's iron.
Yeah.
There's iron in the ground, and your metal detector is going to go off.
Was there dirt in the dirt?
Well, supposedly they were using fancy metal detectors with the different settings, so you can pick up different kind of metals and everything and stuff. So they should have been able to tell, because you can adjust them, right?
Yeah.
So the people that use metal detectors know how to set them so you can tell the difference between picking up a fence post and a gold coin, or you know what I mean? Because you crank it up and that thing can go off all over the place, right?
Yeah.
And so there's settings for, what you're looking for and where it is in the ground and everything and stuff.
They may have known things that a nurse anesthesiologist didn't.
They remind me of Ghost Hunters, where you just crank the microphone up, right? And if you crank that microphone gain high enough, it's going to pick up noise. We're just out of nothing,
And don't forget to jump at nothing if you're going to hunt for ghosts.
The same thing they did with the microscope, too.
That's what Ron seemed to like to do a lot was, let's say, overuse the equipment.
Had the cargo capacity described in the biblical ark. To resolve this final issue, Wyatt and Fassel brought geologist Tom Finner to Turkey with his company's heavy-duty subsurface radar equipment. Gear like this located the black box cockpit recorder on the floor of the frozen Potomac River after the Air Florida crash. It was here, several miles short of the boat-shaped site, that a waiting game began for Finner and the others. The party needed a final go-ahead from the Turkish government to complete their probe of Doomsday Mountain. The restrictions of martial law left the American explorers isolated from the outside world. Not even a telephone.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to hang in like smell on a skunk till there's nothing left to get this done.
Hang in like the smell on a skunk. The Turkish government stopped the exploration. What now?
Since we were there, Barbara, things have cooled down, and they've sent their own team of scientists in to take a look at this site. It's a very fascinating location.
While Turkish scientists and archaeologists did their own research, Ron and his associates continued their work. The next step was subsurface interface radar.
Okay, like Joe was saying, while Ron was doing his work, the real scientists were doing their work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and the two paths didn't cross.
Yeah, he loved it. A lot of these clips is showing, all these fancy little gadgets he has and everything. But I don't think anything was being used properly. He would get, any kind of a reading or anomaly or anything. And again, it's specifically what the word is, but let's just generally call it pareidolia, whatever, you're seeing what you want to see,
Yeah, but there was some underhanded things going on Ron's behalf.
But like I said though, this just isn't nothing. That was Barbara Walters, 2020. Hugh Downs, I think, was the other one. This was prime time, big time, and the CBS big morning show they had. They were covering it too. So this was national. This just wasn't on local news, or something like that. Everybody got suckered in.
Yeah, it was a simpler time. No, not one person said, "Hey, isn't this guy a nurse anesthesiologist?"
Well, they couldn't Google it, Joe. Give them some credit. Jeez.
Yeah.
We have the internet.
We were limited. We had to go to the library and stuff.
We had to read a book. God, you youngins don't know what that's like.
Yeah, I didn't time the cuts very good. Sorry, I didn't really.
Yeah.
I was just guesstimating. So
this has worked out perfect because it's gave us just the right amount of times to stop and talk about it, and
but these little clips there we're covering basically the bigger stories.
Temporarily unable to continue work on Noah's Ark, Ron Wyatt took his two sons, Danny and Ronnie, to a site in Egypt he believed might be where the Red Sea crossing took place.
Now there you go. In the middle of everything else, he said, "Well, hey, why don't we take a day trip and go find the Red Sea crossing?"
We got a map.
And he rolls up on a beach and he goes, "Yeah, this looks like where it was."
Yeah, that's
just like that. That literally in a matter of hours.
Not and not anywhere near where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, no, this is
well, Joe, it was a day trip. Come
well,
on,
yeah, the Kurds. I believe it was the Kurds were going at it with the Turkish soldiers or something, and so there was a lot of interruptions with an unstable area.
Yeah.
So every time gunfire would erupt, they'd tell everybody, get out of here, and so they said, "Well, hey, why don't we go take a day trip and go find the Red Sea crossing?" Okay. So this is what they do.
Yeah.
When they arrived at the site on the Gulf of Aqaba, they found a Phoenician-style column lying on the beach. The water had eroded away the inscription, but in 1984, Ron found a matching column on the opposite shore in Saudi Arabia, still standing, with the inscription still intact. He was later able to translate the words Pharaoh, Mizraim, Death, Edom, Yahweh.
Okay. Again, questionable as to what this was or anything. And where he found this other one in Saudi Arabia, he got in trouble for trespassing in Saudi Arabia because, again, Ron just does what he wants. And the Saudis weren't very happy when he showed up with a shovel on their beach one day. But yeah, so he
interpretation here too.
Yeah. So this is all, he says what was written on this post and everything else. Yeah.
From this second column. And from this, he believes these columns were erected by King Solomon and dedicated to Yahweh for the great miracle of the crossing of the sea on dry land. Israel was occupying the Sinai Peninsula at this time in 1978 and moved this first column from the beach and set it in concrete across the road, as you can see here.
Hey, this is for Logan here. Here you go, Logan.
Diving at this site, they filmed numerous coral-encrusted chariot parts, such as these two chariot wheels still attached to an axle. One wheel
Okay, as some of these formations are natural, so again, there's not, he did, there might be old garbage down there, okay?
Yeah.
But some of these formations are natural. So again, everything he sees is a chariot wheel or a human skeleton or a horse hoof, yes, etc.
Flat on the ground, and the other in the air.
Yeah.
This is a 6-spoked wheel.
Yep.
They found a vast amount of artifacts which loudly attest to the miracle which occurred here. Horse and human skeletal remains are still preserved by the coral, as are
Yeah, it's like we're saying, convenient. He just decides to go swimming and he finds exactly what he wants to find.
Yeah,
because he's doing the Lord's work, Dave. Stop being so damn skeptical.
Well, he is. That's when he says, when he was asked, you don't have any training or anything, how you find all these things. And it's like, well, just God tells him where to look.
To show the lines.
I think Jen's spot on that one.
Whoops.
When you have faith,
This
everything looks
exciting
like
evidence
a
also.
I think I hit the thing there.
hub, which he presented to not coral as a
Okay, there we go. Yeah, I think that's the horse hoof that he had in his museum, maybe. And again, how would a horse hoof do underwater for 4,000 years or whatever?
chariot
Well, that's what I'm wondering about, even
wheels.
the chariot wheel. Was it deep enough where there's no oxygen whatsoever? It don't look like it. Life is thriving.
I believe he said they were at 60 to 200 feet.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be
Wheels without cabs, some wheels on axles, and some not. He retrieved a chariot wheel hub, which he presented to Nassif Mohammed Hassan, who was the director of antiquities in Cairo, Egypt. But the most astounding find was this gold veneered.
Now, this is the one that they claim that he put there himself, and then took a photo of it. So this is the one you'll hear about a lot or see in online searches.
Gold chariot wheels.
Yep.
4-spoke chariot wheel, which he was able to video in March of 1988, but he was unable to retrieve it as the wood.
And again, this thing's been sitting there for thousands of years, and it's got what looks like somebody sprinkled a little bit of sand on it. Yeah. Just enough to make it. But you want to see it. You got to see it.
Well, it's got to be legit. It's got sand on it. Okay, I'm with you, Ron.
Yeah, no part of it is even
disintegrated, leaving only a thin gold shell.
And conveniently, he couldn't bring it up for some reason.
Because they're saying it's too delicate, that it's a thin gold shell.
It would fall apart, etc. It's like, it's gold, isn't it? I don't know. But Ron's very good about always having a convenient excuse.
Like it's doing anybody any good at the bottom of the damn water.
Right. Yeah, I think we got too many skeptics in our side chat, Joe and Dave. I think just not convinced. A bunch of heathens.
Yeah. So so when you see these things, and people will still cite this stuff, like Joe and I were saying, and I just looking around last night, there was a video that just came out where they're talking about Ron Wyatt, and now they're turning it more into they're keeping it all hidden. And that's why you haven't heard anything about this in all these years, is because, like Indiana Jones, top experts are looking at it, right? And they've got it stashed away in a warehouse somewhere. Yeah. Well, that's the new idea, is that everything Ron found is actually in possession of people, but they're just hiding it because reasons.
They don't want you to know the truth.
Right. And Ron's real big about the conspiracies of why the other scientists don't believe him, and why even religious people don't believe him and everything. So, hello, Ape. How you doing? Good to see you.
Hey, how's it going?
So we'll see what Ron has to say here.
Went right through the middle of it, down at the Zoar area. And, you know, I showed them this soft stuff. I said, this is bound to be what's left of those cities, where the cities of the plains once enjoyed a beautiful and very prosperous existence.
Now, when he's filming this, his camera works.
Yeah.
When it's the Ark of the Covenant, not so much. When it's anything else he claims to find, not so much. But here, his camera seems to work just fine. So,
The place where Lot chose.
It almost looks like a Bigfoot video getting ready to come. I wait for
look
Bigfoot
closely.
to walk across with the wagon.
Look closely. You never know. There's probably one in there.
And you'll notice here that we have several feet of nothing but white powdery ash. Ash that's only produced when material is burned at degree temperatures exceeding 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
No, it's sand, Ron. Nobody says that's a huge layer of ash. Nobody but you. He sees the lighter color, and he believes this is ash. I mean, that would be a lot of ash.
2,000 degree ash at that.
Yeah.
This stuff crumbles to powder in your hand, sticks to your clothes. It's just pure ash.
Or sand.
This is, yeah, he again, well, let's take a day trip and go find Sodom and Gomorrah. So he drives down this road and he goes, what do you know? There it is, right?
Yeah. And he found all this stuff like pretty much at the same, like he was just going from spot to spot to spot finding stuff.
Day trips. Yeah. It's just, let's go for a drive, right?
Yeah.
Now these are the sulfur balls.
We're up to here. And we'll go collect that sample in a bag.
Where are you out?
Before I started using this knife, it was very, very sharp. Okay, here this is, and we have collected some more, and it smells and tastes like sulfur, but we'll have it analyzed.
Okay, this area is rich in sulfur. You're going to find it everywhere in this area. And Ron thinks he's special because he found something that's everywhere.
Isn't this like near the Dead Sea? Which is
Yes,
what?
it's
How
found
many
all around
percent
the
of
Dead Sea.
salt? And
That he's-
sulfur and oh my goodness.
I believe it's called white sulfur.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's found all over the place around the Dead Sea, but he points to this one place and says, "Yeah, but this is where it was." because
that's where he was driving that day. So.
That's where he tasted the balls. Carry and get your head out of the gutter, girl. This is
See, he
scientific.
doesn't know that it's all over the place because he didn't look at none of those places.
Yeah.
Or he does know and he doesn't tell anybody that, oh yeah, by the way, everywhere we drove, this stuff is everywhere. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Those are the things, can often be left out. You know, like when he says it's being tested at a lab. What lab? What were the results? You never get that part.
Like sulfur. That's the
He's
result.
never released any of the results for any of the things that he's had tested. Never said what lab they were tested in, what method they were tested by. Never anything. He just says, we had it tested and it was this. We had that blood tested and there was 24 chromosomes.
What's sad is people bought into this hook, line, and sinker thinking it was real. I remember the mania
every day.
And I was a kid. Yeah. I mean, high school, but
because no one has
okay, awesome. So I told Joe we kind of touch on the big ones because, like I say, the Noah's Ark thing was in the news.
Yeah.
The Ark of the Covenant What he believes is quick backstory on the, because I didn't clip everything because I didn't want to get us in trouble or anything. So, but what he believes was the Ark of the Covenant is buried down in the ground under the exact spot where Jesus was crucified. And when when they pierced Jesus' side and the blood came out, and there was the earthquake at the same time, that a crack opened up and Jesus' blood actually went down in this crack, down in the ground, and dripped on the Ark of the Covenant. And that's where Ron Wyatt was getting this blood from, is the trail going, what did he say it was, 40 feet down, I think?
Yeah.
40 feet down, there was a trail of blood through the rock, and it dribbled on. And then, like I say, the guy with the microscope was saying, it's alive. And supposedly when Ron had it tested at, I believe, where he worked at, I think he said that his hospital tested it. But that's where it only had 24 chromosomes. Yeah. Now, if you only have 24 chromosomes, you're in bad shape. Okay? Yeah. I mean, you just can't have one magical Y chromosome, okay? But they believe Ron's blood was from Jesus and it only had 24 chromosomes because 23 from mom, one magical one from dad.
That would just mean that he would have the right amount of chromosomes, but they would both be X.
He'd have about the right amount of
Jesus' sperm. Just think about how super Jesus' sperm would be.
Well, even if, let's say, asexual,
he would have been a gooey hamburger. I mean,
yeah, right. With 24 chromosomes, it wouldn't have been human.
You're missing, pretty much half. I mean, you tweak one little gene, and all the problems people could have. Okay.
Yeah.
And now take away half of your genes. I mean, that's a lot of information to do a lot of things and build a lot of things and all. No, it's just it's ridiculous. But it's another one of Ron's claims.
It's a miracle.
That some lab tested this and says so. And like Joe said again, though, well, what lab and where's these results? And you just have to believe Ron because, I mean, Ron's a man of God. He wouldn't tell you a fib or anything, would you? You don't need lab results. You don't need photographs.
$10,000 more, Dave.
You don't need video. Just float him another 10 grand. Everything will be all right. So now I wanted to get some opinions, and these opinions coming up in these next few clips are from believers. Okay. These are not evil atheists. All right. These are believers. The fella
forks and knives and stuff like that, unlike atheists.
No eating babies or nothing. So we're good to go.
Those are the best kind of video.
This fella here, now I didn't fact check everybody. I did link them on my thing. Joe, if you want to put them on yours later or whatever, I did put the channels down there in the description. You can go check this out for yourself and watch them for yourself. Watch the whole thing and everything else, okay? This gentleman here does say that he has numerous degrees in things like Egypt and Bible studies, etc. So we'll just take his word for it that he does.
He's a well-known archaeologist in the field.
Okay, and he is a believer. So I wanted to get that clear that we're getting his perspective. Okay, and he did a review on Ron Wyatt. This is just a clip. Again, I'm not going to steal his content or anything, but please go check out his content. I did put the links down there, so that we're going to see what some believers have to say about Ron Wyatt. Okay.
Considered Ron Wyatt in serious Christian thought for decades. So why should anyone still care about Ron Wyatt's teachings? After all, he's been dead since 1999. Why does this video matter? The reasons are, 1, because many people still believe Ron Wyatt was the greatest archaeologist ever. I wish that was an understatement. 2. Wyatt's teachings have gathered a cult-like following, and some people believe Wyatt was a prophet of God. 3. Small religious broadcasters are still airing Wyatt's documentaries. And 4. The internet has breathed new life into Wyatt's work, giving it a platform and growing a following that Wyatt never had even when he was alive. So this still matters even 20 years after Wyatt's death.
We have a little space here, but again, yeah, this as Joe said, he knows who he is, so we'll take his word for it that he has a half a clue about these things, and he's a believer. But his review of Ron Wyatt was pretty harsh for a believer, and we're gonna see in a moment here as soon as it catches up here. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Ron Wyatt. Welcome to the Ark of the Covenant dig. We've been working in this area since 1979, and shall we say it hasn't been an easy job. In 1982, we were able to get into the chamber where we saw some of the furnishings from the first temple. Now, we accomplished that by going down through this hole here that's about 40 foot deep, and then coming out of there back up into a chimney in spelunker terminology, and then squeezing on into the chamber.
Okay, Ron was given permission to dig at this site by the Garden Tomb Trust, who carefully monitored the activities of Wyatt's excavations. This is not an Israel Antiquities Authority sanctioned dig. It was a private excavation done on private property that was outside of what was considered a site of archaeological significance. The Wyatt Group has produced no evidence at all that anything was found down that tunnel. And even the Garden Tomb Trust admits that nothing was found down in those tunnels. And the curator of the site said that, quote, Ron Wyatt is persona non grata here, end quote. Page 44.
Yeah, eventually they had enough of Ron Wyatt, and they said, don't come back no more. They were trying to be nice, and doing a little nosing around. I was telling Joe before, often different religious groups want to come and they want to dig and they want to play archaeologist. And I guess what the folks with the Israeli authorities do with some of them is they say, oh, we've got some spots for you to dig. And they'll have them clean up a mess somewhere, and they'll go through some rubble and everything. And they're basically getting some free labor, and they get to dig around, and they might find some, pottery shards or something like that. And they clean up an area, right? Maybe straighten up the rocks and, what would you call it? Busy work or something, but everybody's happy, right? Hey, you went to Israel, you got to dig in the old dirt, and the Israeli authorities didn't have to pay somebody to do it, right? When he's talking about not sanctioned, these are not official digs or anything else. Ron made it sound like they were, but he had permission because this piece was privately owned. And I'm guessing they might have been a believer or something, and they said, yeah, you can dig around, okay? So that was the extent of Ron Wyatt's authority and officiality of his archaeological sites.
Yeah. Ron.
Now we're gonna go ahead. I'm just waiting for the video to catch up.
What's coming up next?
Just a couple more of the believers' opinions here. Because I say the last thing I want to do is pull up an evil atheist saying
If it were just simply getting into the chamber,
Ron was
we
wrong.
could do that.
Okay, now this is Joe and I's favorite part right here. We took great joy in watching this part, so I hope it's a little blurbed, but I hope you can appreciate it just the same.
But once we get in there, we have to have the ability to get all of those things out of that chamber and safely to the surface.
When Howard Carter first entered the tomb of King Tutankhamun, the first thing he did was take photographs. Lots and lots of photographs. Carter even took photographs of the door and the seal on the door. Ron Wyatt enters what is potentially the most important archaeological site ever and takes no photographs at all.
So it's
Yeah. Ron documented nothing.
What happened there?
Well, you touched on it earlier when we were talking about, King Tut and how they documented everything even before they walked in there.
Yeah.
Wait.
They got the thing too close to the bar. I keep accidentally touching the bar there.
Just because there's a bar there, Dave, doesn't mean you got to stop and get a drink.
Yeah, the play. If you're a little bit high on the play button, it catches the bar and drags it back. Okay.
But our radar, our subsurface interface radar scanner shows that there is a chamber.
And that's what this guy does, by the way. He has popcorn and reviews shows. So, yeah, just so you know, that's kind of his thing. He does it. So,
approximately 18 inches behind this wall. And one of the shots that we got from the side showed a level of contents in the chamber with lessened contents near the bottom. And in
Wait a minute. Hadn't Wyatt already discovered the Ark and other furniture at this point? Why are they looking for another chamber? This doesn't make any sense.
This is what he would do. He would claim he found something, but he needed more money to keep digging. What you already found it, didn't you? And it was like his excuse for not producing anything was, well, I need another tunnel. It's all. It doesn't make any sense.
Experimentation, we find that this usually represents something that's standing on legs or up on some sort of a pedestal. We're going to attempt to put a hole through there with this drill.
That's the scientific way to do it.
Best archaeologist ever. Wow.
His laugh is just contagious. I love it.
Yeah.
He just couldn't believe it. And mind you, yeah, he's wedged in this tiny little space with these, and you see it's not even, the structure doesn't even look like anything that anybody that knew what they were doing would build, right? They're just 2x4s stuck everywhere, hoping to hold up the mountain over his head, right? And yeah, pull out a jackhammer. Great. And mind you, they mentioned in one of the clips, this area shake, rattles, and rolls a little bit too, right? So every once in a while, yeah, it shakes a little bit, and all the loose material moves around and everything. So it's not real stable to begin with. So it's extra special to hit it with a jackhammer. So that part with him laughing though was just great. Just.
There we go. I fixed it.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna go ahead.
He took zero care to be able to document later what the door or anything. And here we're just gonna plow right through this with a big drill here.
Yes, the tables and stone were found in the Ark of the Covenant. I personally removed them with the assistance of 4 angels who lifted the mercy seat, which I would estimate weighs about 900 pounds of solid gold. And one of these angels told me to take the tables of stone out of there, he said God wants everyone to see those.
If it's true that God sent 4 angels to Wyatt to lift off that mercy seat and to get the tablets out, the purpose that God has here is for you to use this as evidence. Well, then where is that evidence?
And somebody say, well, can you show me some evidence? And I can't.
There you go. Ron's ultimate answer to everything. Well, where's the evidence? Oh, I don't have any evidence.
Yeah.
Okay. And
we dug for 15 years. I don't have anything though.
That channel too, he is a believer, in case you didn't notice. There's a cross there, and he sells religious merch. It is a religious channel. He's a believer, okay? And he was openly amusing and mocking Ron.
Whenever you come across a video or an article about the Ark of the Covenant or Noah's Ark, inevitably somebody will bring up the name Ron Wyatt. For those of you who don't know who Ron Wyatt is, he's an American, a self-proclaimed archaeologist that went to Israel many times to do excavations. And he claimed to discover a lot of different biblical artifacts and sites. Let's have a look at some of them. So among the different artifacts and sites that Ron Wyatt claims to have discovered, we have Noah's Ark. We have the tombs of Noah and his wife. We have the location of Sodom and Gomorrah. We have the Tower of Babel. We have the site of the Israelites crossing the Red Sea. We have chariot wheels and other relics of the army of Pharaoh at the bottom of the Red Sea, even the chariot wheels. We have the site of the biblical Mount Sinai. We have the Ark of the Covenant. We have the site of the crucifixion of Jesus. We even have Jesus' own blood that he claims to have discovered. Now, a few of these sites, such as the location of the tomb of Noah, the location of the Tower of Babel, the location of Sodom and Gomorrah, they're not new, okay? There are locations in the Holy Land that people have believed to be this is the location. They've believed it for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years, okay? But Ron Wyatt comes around and claims to discover a totally different site, and he claims that his site is the actual site. Now, to summarize the claims of Ron Wyatt, well, he claims to have found everything. I mean, he claims to have found everything. We got the Ark of the Covenant. We've got the Noah's Ark. You know, we've got Jesus' own blood and the crucifixion site. Everything. I mean, Ron Wyatt claims to have discovered everything. So the question is, what about biblical scholars? What about professional biblical archaeologists? What do they have to say about what Ron found?
Yes. What does everybody else have to say? This is what we want to know, right? All right, we're going to hear right here.
According to this Wikipedia article, Wyatt was not considered credible by professional archaeologists and biblical scholars. Apparently here, the Garden Tomb, or the Tomb of Jesus, is another site that Wyatt claimed to have found. But there is an organization called the Council of the Garden Tomb Association in London, and they totally refute the claim of Wyatt. They said here that they've observed, eyewitnesses of Wyatt's excavations, and they said here, as far as we are aware, nothing was discovered to support his claims, nor have ever seen any evidence of biblical artifacts or temple treasures.
There you go.
There it is.
The official statement, and these are the ones that are in charge basically of that area that he was in digging around there, the Garden Tomb organization folks there. He never produced anything.
And without us.
And eventually, they got tired of him, and they said, don't come back no more. We're done with you.
Yeah.
And Logan, they should have put him on Hoffa. Maybe they would have found Hoffa.
Yeah.
All right. Now this next one, the gray-haired gentleman is doing the interviewing, and he's in charge of some Christian organization. The dark-haired gentleman was hired by Ron Wyatt to document the Ark of the Covenant coming out of the ground, right? Because Ron believed that God wanted him to do it, and the angels even told him that this is so everybody can see it,
Well,
right?
He wasn't hired. He was actually robbed.
Yeah, well, a lot of promises were made.
Yeah.
And this gentleman here with the dark hair, among many other people, were promised exclusives. So you had a lot of people that were promised exclusives. So this guy, though, is one that actually went down in the hole to get a look for himself when Ron wasn't around, because Ron would never let anybody else go and look. They went and they snuck down and actually went and looked at the in this hole that Ron was digging around for the Ark of the Covenant. So
Him, he told me much the same story, that he'd been seriously threatened and it almost came to blows.
Mm-hmm.
Why did Wyatt not want you to go down that hole? Was he afraid for your life?
That's what he said. He said, "I'm afraid it's too dangerous." And Harold said, well, basically in so many words,
it was dangerous. We saw the 2x4s holding up the mountain down. Yeah, we will agree there. It was dangerous.
I'm an adult. I've been taking care of myself all these years. I'm responsible. You're not responsible. I want to go down. We found the truth why he didn't want us to go down, because we did get a rope and light, and Harold took a little pick. And my brothers and I, we went against Ron's, even though Ron was very upset. And we went on that evening. I remember that it was raining. And we went over into the garden tomb and went down. And Harold went to the hole. We let him down, very tight fit. He actually had to hold his hands above him in order to get down. When he got very low, we could still talk to him. We had rope under his armpit so we could get him back up. And when he got to the bottom, he said it did open up, just as Ron had said. There was maybe a little 5x5 room. The only difference is with flashlight and a little pick, it was solid rock all the way around. The hole went nowhere. The cave just stopped. There had never been, never.
No passageway leading in any direction?
No, solid. You can, and you don't have to be an archaeologist or someone very intelligent to know when you're against solid rock that's been there for thousands of years.
Or someone intelligent. So, again, we have to take his word for it, but this gentleman was hired to be the videographer, among others, and he was waiting to document Ron bringing stuff up out of the dig. And he got kind of tired of waiting, and he kind of said, is this guy going to bring anything up for me to take pictures of? And so they went down in there and looked, and wasn't nothing there.
That the rock had fallen down, or at least Ron had told you that a large amount of rock had fallen down into that cave, and that's what made it impassable.
Yeah, that's what he said. But again, as I've already mentioned, it was solid all the way around. When we brought Harold up, he said, absolutely is as solid as any rock that you see around here. There's never been an opening. Nothing was ever filled. And so that, of course, was the reason Ron didn't want us to go down. We surmised that. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that one out.
You don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure that one out. Yeah, he that easy. Well, let me see what you're talking about. And as soon as anybody else had a peek, well, then, yeah, obviously.
A little bit of backstory about this, though. So that guy works for the ABN News Network, and they had given Ron $10,000 to procure a new machine to find this stuff. And so whenever they went to the dig site, they took a lawyer with them, and the guy in the hole is the lawyer. So just to be clear, that I think that's an important part of this.
And one of the things that I read was that again, he kept saying, I need another 10 grand. And I believe it was the same one. The lawyer said, look, we'll give you another 10 grand, but we want you to take a lie detector test. And I'm free to have the results whether you find something or not. So supposedly Ron took the lie detector test and he failed everything except his name.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but the guy still gave him the 10 grand. He still gave him the 10 grand though, even though he failed the lie detector test. So,
Yeah.
Because now, he's been exposed.
And now, did you have any equipment to show that there was gold anywhere in the region?
Later, someone that we won't give their names at this point, but someone.
and they want to detect gold because supposedly the ark is covered in gold, in case folks don't know. So
900-pound gold seat that was on.
nine, which somebody pointed out would make it extremely top heavy when they were carrying it around in the Bible stories everywhere. That would have been really tough to carry around.
In our group went back, took someone with him. They did have a machine that does detect gold. They used it around the Dome of the Rock. They used it anywhere there was concentrated amounts of gold. The machine always would detect the gold. They took it to the cave, garden tomb, and there was nothing. It showed absolutely nothing there. And of course, we know where the Ark of the Covenant, there'll be much gold there also.
Oh, of course.
And as I mentioned already, for 17 years, you said he says that he discovered this in 17 years. And for now, between that and these 17 years, it's obvious if something that important was there, he would have found some way to get it out and talk about it. But it's not there. He should be able to show it to you. I can promise you it's not there. It never happened.
And like Joe pointed out, he works for a Christian news media company or whatever. These. Yeah. I made sure I only looked for believers, and like I say, this guy actually, I guess he worked with Ron, was there, and he may not have went in the hole himself. I guess he hoisted the other guy into the hole, but there was nothing in the hole.
Well, there are some contradictions that I'm seeing now between what happened in your experience.
And this is where they're piecing stuff together now, as Joe was talking about.
What I have read or seen on video from Ron Wyatt. Number one, he said the Israeli government wouldn't allow the discovery to be made public. Yet he claimed that he was willing in 89 or 90 for you to go there and actually video the Ark of the Covenant.
That's why I went, so we could bring it to the world.
Number two, on another occasion, I learnt that he had said that an angel that was in the cave, as it were, guarding the Ark of the Covenant, had told him not to release the information until after the time of trouble for God's people had taken place. They seem inconsistent with what he promised you back there almost a decade ago.
I don't know any of those claims. I've never heard that about the angel not telling him not to release.
And I say they're starting to piece together. It's like, now wait a minute. He supposedly found it. He hired people to come document it. And then once he got the people there to document it, he said, "Oh, hold on. The angel said never mind." Right? A lot of us skeptics know that very often when you press people, they always seem to have an excuse. And Ron Wyatt was very good at producing these excuses.
The whole reason we went was because this was to go to the world, and he wanted us to bring it to the world.
Now, I was told that the reason that you did not proceed with the effort to video was because of your brother Ronnie, who was the cameraman. Ronnie, according to Wyatt, said that he asked for a sign. He got a little uneasy about it and asked for a sign because there was no evidence whatsoever of any rain, no forecast of rain. And he said, on the Sabbath day, if God did not want your team to go down in and video the ark, then it would rain. And according to the report that I have seen, there was no sign of rain until about almost the end of the day, and then suddenly, almost apparently miraculously, a shower of rain came. Do you have any recollection of that?
Yeah, I have a fairly good one of it. It did rain. The fact that I believe it was Saturday night, it did rain. When I asked my brother, someone wrote me a few months ago a letter and said, "Shame on you guys. I mean, you shouldn't have gone because you asked for a sign." And so I called my brother Ronnie. I asked Linda, "Do you remember anything like this?" She said, "No." So I
see again. What Ron says and what everybody else says don't seem to align.
called Ron and I said, "Ron, did you pray for any kind of signs?" And he said, "About what?" And I said, "Well, about going down the hole or not." He said, "No." He said, we just went down and it came a rain that evening and we went in spite of the rain. Honestly, there's absolutely no truth. I mean, I'm always amazed, and again, I don't hate Ron Wyatt. I don't even really dislike him, to tell you the truth. I dislike what he's doing. I realize that he's deceived, in my opinion.
Now, this what he's going to point out here, it shows that this guy is really a believer. Listen closely to what he's going to say.
Thousands of people. I believe that there are people that's watching this video that will sit back and realize they've given hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to this work. And I don't like seeing God's work so grossly misrepresented. When you talk about something and tears would come in his eyes when he talked about blood dripping down from the cross to the mercy seat. I mean, how do you dare make up something? I personally would rather go rob a bank, I guess, than to try to use this type of a lie to get funds from people and to get support from people. Now, I don't.
Now he sounds like it genuinely hurts his feelings, right? That how dare you lie about Jesus or any of these Bible things just to get money? You'd be better off to rob a bank and ask for forgiveness, right? It seems to genuinely bother him, that he was being dishonest. And so, I'm just pointing out he seems to be a sincere believer and didn't like what Ron was doing once he learned what he was doing.
Yeah.
Now, I came across this video. This is Mike at Inspiring Philosophy. I think most of us know who he is, and most of us don't really have a problem with him. He's not a bad guy. He's a believer, but he presents his arguments.
I heard him.
He's not a creationist or anything like that, So most of us, Mike's all right, and he knows his stuff. He comes well prepared and everything. So Mike has a few comments. We'll give this one a quick listen here.
January 6, 1982, where a man by the name of Ron Wyatt says he discovered not only the Ark of the Covenant, but the actual crucifixion site of Jesus Christ.
Yes, expert Ron Wyatt, whose background is being a nurse anesthetist.
He was doing biblical excavation.
Ron Wyatt is not an archaeologist, so he wasn't doing a biblical excavation. He was wandering around someone's private property looking for things.
To make a long story short, he ends up finding this golden box with a cracked lid and a cracked ceiling through the entire mountain to the top.
No, he claims he found these things, but he never provided a lick of evidence to back up his case. Let me just cite an organization that I vehemently disagree with on many things.
Now, this is something I think we can all agree. Sometimes we can all agree, okay? Mike's a believer, and we're not going to agree with a lot of his religious beliefs. But Mike also says he doesn't agree with Answers in Genesis, okay? And we pointed out earlier, Answers in Genesis doesn't agree with Ron, and he's going to point it out.
Answers in Genesis has written numerous articles debunking the supposed discoveries of Ron Wyatt. If Ron Wyatt is too crazy for answers in Genesis, you know his claims are nonsense.
Well said. And again, yeah, we can agree with inspiring philosophy on this. When Ken Ham says your stuff is nonsense, you might want to check yourself. Yeah, okay. Yeah. And
told you how
you can check these links. They're in the description. And okay, so now we got a few opinions on. Again, these were believers. Okay, all pointing out that Ron was up to some shenanigans. Okay.
Yeah.
But, and as the first clip with the guy that was the Egyptologist and stuff and that, and like he said, a lot of the religious leaders, though, are still using this stuff. Now, this guy is going to say 30 years later or something like that. Well, here he is.
Gave you all of that to show you how that Y chromosome obviously comes from the father, is special and it's different. Now, how many of you have ever heard of a man named Ron Wyatt? All right. Brother Ollinger brought me a paper the other day about a discovery that Ron Wyatt had made. And I remembered from when he gave me that, I thought to myself, I dealt with that 30 years ago when he did it back in the 80s. And I talked to, of course, most of you weren't here then, but I talked about it back then. And I'll talk about it again today. But something more has come to light that Brother Ollinger gave me. And that is that there's an issue of blood involved now. An issue of blood involved. And I want you to listen to what I'm going to play for you. I want you to think. I'm not saying that I agree necessarily with what I'm going to play.
And there's always the words, always when they do that, right? I'm not saying this is real, but you know, maybe, you know, but I'm going to put this bug in your ear anyway, right? And I don't know how big his congregation is, but there are people there that he's trying to put this bug in their ear, right?
But the whole purpose of learning is to challenge your thinking and to set it before you and let you deal with it. Because what you're going to hear right now is quite a remarkable thing. How many of you have ever heard of Kent Hovind? All right. Now, Kent Hovind is a brother. He's a brother. He's a school teacher, and they call him Dr. Dino. I mean, this fellow is well read when it.
I love the way he pronounces the stuff.
Yeah.
Hovind and Dr. Dino.
Comes to dealing with dinosaurs and what have you and all that. You ought to listen to it, especially your kids that are coming up through school. You know, he's good. He's good to deal with stuff like that. All right. This man, Kent Hovind, visited with Ron Wyatt right before Brother Wyatt died. He had an interview with him. He asked him about some things, and I just want you to listen to it. That's all you need to do. So it's going to take about 10 minutes or so to run this, but I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at what you hear. Now let me get this down where you can hear what's coming up.
And I wanted to point out too, just in case you think Hovind is just, you know, one of these, you know, extremists out there all on his own. You know, here's another pastor that's saying, "Oh yeah, you got to go listen to him. Go take your kids to listen to him too." Did you notice that? So.
Out of this microphone. All right.
Oh, I know all kinds of people that think Hovind
Ron
is.
Wyatt told me before he.
It's not that, you know. Yeah, he's not a loner. He's got people that, you know, basically recommending him. So.
Yeah. He died. I sat in his living room and talked to him for 3 hours about the Ark of the Covenant. He said, "Brother Hovind, I found the Ark of the Covenant." I said, "Yeah, right. Okay, and I'm Methuselah. I'm still around." He said, "No, Brother Hovind, I really did." I said, "Well, tell me about it, Ron." Now, Ron was a great guy. He was the kind of guy that if I was God, I would let him find all these things because he wasn't out for any glory. He's not bragging about it. He wasn't, you know, not looking for money.
Okay, yeah. As Joe mentioned earlier, oh yeah, great guy, great family man, great man of God. But there's rumors that he had a traveling companion that wasn't Mrs. Wyatt, and that he was staying in some nice hotels, and that he always had his hand out for another 10 grand. And he surely was making the rounds with the media and everywhere else for the glory. So, and then to say, well, God doesn't really want to show it just yet. Well, then it must be for the glory, because you were promising these things, and then you basically said God changed his mind and isn't going to show all these things. So why are you doing it other than to get on TV, right?
Yeah. He, an endorsement by Kent Hovind of somebody being a good man, as we know, isn't, because he spoke of other good men that weren't so good. So that doesn't lend any credibility itself. And then also on top of it, you have all the millions of dollars that was made off this.
And as we pointed out, to Ken Ham's credit, he's the whole organization, everybody I guess at the organization, because there's other people mentioned in the articles and stuff, all saying that Ron Wyatt's claims were no good. But
yeah,
Hovind starts out kind of with a joke about, oh, sure, you found the ark, right?
Yeah.
But then it turns to, oh, well, obviously he must, because he's man of God. He wouldn't fib or anything. And I'm pretty sure Hovind still cites Ron Wyatt to this day.
Yeah, he does.
Ron Wyatt, a Seventh-day Adventist, amateur researcher and explorer, asserted on January 6, 1982.
And this is another quick little video clip I just want to show that, yeah, people are resurfacing Ron Wyatt recently.
That he had discovered the 10 Commandments and the Ark of the Covenant hidden beneath the ruins of ancient Jerusalem. The incident was prophesied to take place, and according to his account, the Ark of the Covenant was placed directly beneath the site of Jesus of Nazareth's crucifixion.
None of that, it lines up with anything. And as if you watch the rest of that video from that Egyptologist from earlier, he points out things biblically and historically, and that none of this would line up anyways, not even by any theological standards or anything.
Yeah.
This was all in Ron's mind, not to mention that he keeps talking about it's because of all the layers of the towns built on top of each other while he's excavating underneath a big rock.
Yeah.
Okay? There weren't any layers building up underneath that rock. Okay?
How many towns did he find under that rock?
Yeah, maybe on top of the rock, right? You don't build a city underneath a big rock, because that's a big, what are they? Escarpment.
Yes, an escarpment.
It's an escarpment, okay? It's a big rock that's been there for a long time, and nobody built a city or multiple layers of cities underneath that big rock. But it shows that he has, he throws around some words here and there. Yeah, but he doesn't really have any clue about geology or archaeology or anything. And maybe it's just me, but is there something about this Ron Wyatt's eyes that kind of have that glazed look to him? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think he looked like that in a lot of his stuff, I think.
So I think he may, if nothing, maybe some type of OCD or something where he is just obsessed,
Yeah.
because it seems to show in his eyes. All right. So, and then the last little bit here is going to be just Ron with a few of his words real quick, where he's basically saying why all the scientists disagree with him and stuff like that. So we want to give Ron a fair shake to defend himself, right? So, and he's no longer with us. May he rest in peace. So this is the best we can do is what Ron has to say. All right.
And they said, there's been nobody in there here like that today. And then one of them said, well, Mr. Wyatt, there's never been anybody in here like that. So somewhere between where he turned right past that pine tree and before he got to the office, he went on to the New Jerusalem.
Now, this is his encounter with Jesus, okay? Just so you understand why he's getting emotional. Jesus came and talked to him when he was at the dig, so. And Ron is real good about getting emotional.
Yeah.
Now, folks, for Christ himself to come down to encourage me about the excavation of the Ark of the Covenant tells me that it's very important to God.
So he believed when he first found it, he believed that the ark and all of the objects that he found in that chamber would come out. And then I lived, when I married him in 1988, and I know that he believed that he had to find a way into that chamber so he could bring those objects out. Then one day he came home. And that changed. He didn't talk about that anymore. And it took him a couple of months before he would tell me that he knew that he was never going to bring the ark out, that he would only bring the tables of stone out, or that they would be brought out one day.
There are 4 angels that have the responsibility of looking after the Ark of the Covenant. All right, my 4th time I entered that chamber.
Now this here has got to be one of the greatest baloney stories ever. And he says it with a straight face, and you've got to give him credit for it, okay? Yeah. So get ready. As Jay would say, get a hold of your rears, all right? Because here it comes, all right?
Everything was cleaned out. All of the furnishings of the temple were in the proper positions that they were to be in, and except there was no curtain between the holy and the most holy place, and there's a reason for that. But
there's a reason, all right. Yeah, I had to cut it up a little bit because Ron's stuff is all copyrighted to crap. He's got watermarks on everything, so I had to cut it up a little bit. So want to make sure we're fair using it and we're talking about it. So we're talking about it, all right? We're talking about this. We've got it cut up and we're discussing it because that's what we're here to do, is to discuss Ron Wyatt's video. So we're fair using it.
Somebody let Papa out to talk about the the angels. It's just,
but it's going to be worth the wait. Hang on, it's going to be worth the wait here. I just got a little blank spot in the video here. It's going to be so worth it. This is just
anyway
fabulous. Here we go.
When I walked in, there were 4 angels standing in the chamber, and they looked just like people on the street. When I saw them, I was rather stunned, and I was going to ask, how did you get in here, or something to that effect, but I found I couldn't move or talk or nothing like that.
Whoa.
So one of them instructed me to set up my video camera and aim it at the Ark of the Covenant. They went over, each took a corner of the mercy seat, lifted it up, and said, take the tables of stone out of the Ark of the Covenant. God wants everyone to see those.
All right, this is the angels saying God wants everyone to see those.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went over and I took it out. I wasn't able to move until he told me to do these things. And so they put the lid back on, or the mercy seat back on. I stood there with the tables of stone. I didn't know what to do with them. The angel came and took them and put them.
So they gave him the tablets of stone to show everybody. Now, it is on video, but why did he have to take them? And then what do they do with them? They take them back. Okay.
On a shelf in the side of the chamber there. Behind the Ark of the Covenant, the whole wall is the most beautiful crystal I couldn't even imagine it. The colors of the rainbow are rippling in all directions behind it.
Now, this is the same hole that, remember, the other guy got dropped into earlier that said it was just a
Solid
gap
rock.
in the rock, basically. It's not even a finished room or anything, right? But when Ron's in there, it's covered in beautiful crystal.
He said you couldn't even imagine it. But here, let me tell you about it.
But let me tell you about it, right? You can't imagine the mind of God. Now, let me tell you what God has to say.
It is mind-boggling. And I know that God, it's going to be there. I was told, and specifically what law, but people aren't ready to hear that yet. Men are working on a religious law that will require you and me to break God's 10 Commandments. When that law is passed, is when the tables of stone are to be put on public display, and people are to be made aware that God requires us to keep those 10 Commandments.
Okay, so you're following the angels opened it up and took the tablets out of the special box to keep them in and put them on a shelf to wait until another day when they're to be revealed. Reads like a Bible story, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What? Why did you just take? Aren't they supposed to stay in the nice box? Right?
So
God wanted this nice box, right, just for these tablets. And they took them out of the box and they put them on a shelf. And Ron's saying, well, we got to wait for another day because God's not ready to show them to you yet. So they're on a shelf. They're not in their nice box. What was the purpose of this whole thing, right?
Yeah. And picture someone doing this, because what he's saying is, well, they took them and they presented them to me, and then they took them back from me and put them back on the wall.
When I covered the abduction of Betty and Barney Hill, supposedly she said, I want some, evidence. Nobody's going to believe I was on the alien ship, right? So they said, well, we'll let you pick something. So she picked a book of alien writing or whatever. And they said, yeah, you can take that as evidence. But then at the last minute, when they were letting them go, they said, oh, hang on a second. We can't let you take that book. And they took it back from her. So she had the book. She has the evidence, but they took it back. So, I mean, you got to believe me, right?
The whole purpose of opening the box was because they were recording it and God wanted people to see that. But
wait a minute.
Purpose at all.
But wait a minute. I'm God, and the things I say, I often just wait a minute. Slip my mind. Wrong. I didn't mean to say that. It would be put them back in the box. Jeez. So we're gonna. But here's his. Mind you, the angel said to set up the video camera, right? So there's got to be video or film, or I don't know what he was type of camera at the day. It's probably good old film, whatever. So there's got to be film, right? Okay, so where's the film, Ron?
Right. And that's when it will be shown. Now, I went to my hotel. I looked in the viewfinder, played back my video to make sure I had it. And then it struck me, where am I going to keep this? Where can I keep it that it'll be safe? So I took it and I went back in the chamber, and I mumbled something. I meant to say, I don't know where I can keep just say. The angel took it and laid it on the tables of stone. So I have no access to the video of that until you're ready.
Of course.
I've got to give him credit.
I went to the hotel and watched the video and was like, I better take this back to those angels instead of, destroy it or whatever.
I've got the greatest evidence in the world. What can I do with it?
Give it to angels underground.
I'm going to go give it to the angels back in the hole. That's a great story, though. I mean, I've got to give it to him. I mean, how do you argue that? Obviously, there's film, there's evidence. The angels and God told him to make the movie. The movie was made. I mean, what do you want? Oh, you want to actually see the movie? And this also contradicts with another story Ron told. He has, again, he was always hitting organizations and individuals up for money for equipment.
Yeah.
Now, he had an endoscope that they use, when they want to look around inside of you.
Yeah.
And he drilled a hole through the box that the Ark of the Covenant is in, because, even though he said it was slightly ajar on top so that the blood could get in.
Yeah.
But he needed to drill a hole to stick the endoscope in. Yeah. But the endoscope pictures all came out bad.
Yeah.
Now this camera can, look around on your insides and see if, some don't look right to the doctor, right? But when Ron uses it, none of the pictures come out when he supposedly stuck it inside the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah.
So there's many. There's way too many. I could have gone on and on and on and on. Obviously, as some of the other clips that Ron claimed to have found everything. So, I tried to limit my stuff here. But Ron, great at having an excuse. Like I said to Hazo earlier, his camera is working fine when he's filming in the desert, right? But it never works for anything where there's anything to film other than just desert, right?
Well, now he got that chariot wheel that was in the sand. That was under a millimeter of sand.
Would you ever think, Dave, that the angels are just shy?
Well, of course.
There you go. You never thought about that. Stop being so goddamn
They're the ones that set up the camera.
Yeah, they were they wanted it filmed and everything. So
the angels don't know how that shit works. You guys are just being too critical. Poor Ron Wyatt. He's not. Angels aren't techies.
Now I don't know if he can top himself with this one or not. Maybe we have to take a poll in the chat. We'll see what the chat thinks. We'll see if he tops himself with this one, okay? Because again, I got to give the man a fair chance to explain himself, right? I'm the captive desk, okay? Agree or disagree, I try to give all the sides, right? So when I was making this up, I tried to present some clips of the stories, and that it, was on national news and everything. I showed it to you, right? And again, you can go watch the whole things in the description. And then I showed you what believers, even Ken Ham, who thinks dinosaurs were on Noah's Ark and people rode them around with saddles on their backs, okay? Thinks that Ron Wyatt's claims are a little ridiculous, okay?
You're in trouble when that happens.
They're their words, okay? This is not me. I'm just laughing at it, okay? And the gentleman that worked with him, right, and everything, and then what people are saying. And again, I didn't save it because I already had this made up. But I came across a video where they're talking about Ron Wyatt and the release time was a matter of hours. So it just came out. So this stuff is resurfacing, which is another reason Joe and I thought maybe we should talk about it a little bit. So why do all the scientists disagree with Ron? This should be about getting to the end here.
Shall we say, kind of wraps this up as far as my thinking is concerned. Now, the Bible tells us that as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be when the Son of Man comes to this earth. Now, if we believe those words, they're God's own words, and he does not lie or exaggerate.
He just can't make up his mind half the time.
Yeah.
Then there were scientists before
Just
the
don't
flood.
read the Bible and prove that he can lie.
Yeah. Or remember what he just told you to do about open the box. Wait a minute, don't open the box.
Don't do that.
And
That's
they were
no.
probably creationist scientists and evolutionary scientists. In fact,
Now, mind you, he just said evolutionary scientists and creation scientists. That leaves Ron, right? Ron against everybody. Ron against the real scientists and Ron against Ken Ham's scientists, okay? He just set himself up as nobody agrees with him.
there had to be these individuals. Now, in Genesis chapter 2, the Bible says that there had been no rain upon the earth in those days before the flood. And here Noah was preaching that it was going to rain so much, in fact, that all life on this planet would be wiped out, would be drowned. And he was building this boat, and he invited people to come. Well, I'm sure that there were these scientists that positioned themselves nearby so that the groups of folks that had listened to what Noah had to say would pass by, and they would say, now, if you folks would like to hear a little scientific evaluation of what this crazy man is saying, then listen to me. And so they obviously were very, very persuasive, because in the end, only Noah and his family and members of each family of animals were saved on the ark. And so it's no surprise that today that we have scientists in the category of creationist scientists, evolutionary scientists, both opposing what we are doing. Now, this is not something that Ron Wyatt is doing. This is something that God is doing. And he has allowed me to find and document, and we have attempted to be very thorough in these documentations, so that people, if they have a high regard for truth, will see the truth of what is being presented. Now, Paul, who was had been preaching.
Remember the clip earlier when they asked him for evidence, and he said, I can't produce any evidence, but he carefully documented it, right?
He documented absolutely nothing. And
With a
he
straight
talked about
face.
how
It's
carefully
amazing. I can't do it. I mean, we often joke about, we should just, say we converted and stick our hands out, right? But I don't think I could keep a straight face.
For a number of years, wrote a letter to Timothy, who had.
It's almost like.
All right, so yeah, I don't know. You have to. Is that one better than the Angels have the film? I don't know. That one's still pretty good. But yeah, he just said basically every scientist, even the believing, the creationist scientists, say that he's wrong because they don't want him to be right. That's it, right? They don't want Ron, because obviously, if Ken Ham could prove Noah's Ark and all this stuff, I mean, he's the Ark guy, right? He's got the Ark Park, right?
Yeah.
What interest would Ken Ham have in not wanting, to prove there's Noah's Ark, right? So his conspiracy of the creationists not agreeing with him, just I can understand why he wants to throw out, the evolutionary biologists, scientists, or whatever. But he's saying, no, everybody thinks I'm nuts, right? And yeah, Ron, nobody agrees with you. Even a lot of people in your own inner circles disavowed you, and you're all alone.
Evangelistic work of the first century, and he told him to be avoid, shall we say, some of the things that were taking place. He says, avoid vain repetition, avoid vain babblings, and oppositions of science, falsely so called. And it's up to those who look at these materials to decide what they want to believe. And we have provided evidence that is irrefutable. There's a large number of people that don't come to see the presentations because of the comments that these so-called scientists
these so-called scientists.
Yeah.
Everybody says I'm nuts. And maybe it could be because my eyes are like this all the time.
So his argument is believers don't go see the religious relics because scientists say something else. Since when have they gave a shit what scientists said about it? Like
that's the thing. He couldn't even fool, Ken Ham with his paper mache stuff. That's how ridiculous, when I showed his little museum at the beginning there, that's how ridiculous it is that people actually were literally saying it looks like he made stuff out of paper mache.
Yeah, I'd heard those reports, and it's like he's provided zero evidence for any of the things that he's claimed, and then says, "But I have all this evidence, and it's irrefutable."
That's why I had to throw this in with him saying stuff.
Well, that's sad, and there's no way to help anybody that won't go and see things for themselves.
Like your buddy that wanted to go down in the hole and see it for himself, and he said, "No, you can't go see it for yourself." Yeah. Everything he's saying here is a direct contradiction to everything he actually is.
Yeah.
There's no shame in telling these people, well, I want to see it for myself. It sounds...
Now, remember the account the gray-haired gentleman was talking about was that because that other person wanted to see for themselves, that Ron Wyatt was going to deck him.
He was going to fight him, yeah.
He was going to fight him if he tried to go look for himself.
Yeah.
But he's sitting here telling you make sure you see it for yourself, right? Just not anything that I'm talking about, or I'm going to deck you.
Quite unlikely, but I want to see if there is evidence to support the claims of these discoveries.
That's right.
Tragically, the professionals that we have today, all of their...
The professionals... Again, he's separating himself from people with a clue, right? The professionals
we have today.
Yeah.
He's trying to say, I'm the professional.
Were
These people
no, Ron Wyatt's the expert, not the professional. He knows what he's doing. The angels, goddammit, the angels.
He's got God's ear.
There you go, Dave. Thank you.
Contain so-called scientific proof that is not proof at all. I remember back when I was a child or a young individual going to school, that when the subject of evolution came up, it was always referred to as the theory of evolution.
Oh God!
You see the quote dog whistles going off here, right?
Yeah.
This is again with the evolution. You got to throw evolution in there, the boogeyman word, right?
It's just
but
a
now,
theory.
when it is
Just a
presented,
theory,
they say the facts of evolution show that it's this way. Well, there are no facts that support evolution. There's
None at all.
Missing link been
Nope.
found. There's been attempts by dishonest individuals to create missing links, like the Piltdown Man, the Nebraska Man, and many others that.
You see how I had to throw that in there? These are classics, aren't they?
Yeah.
Piltdown Man, Nebraska. Yeah, some people's tried to pull some phony baloney there and sell it to a museum. Ron.
We still hear it today the same way, though, don't we? We always hear about Nebraska Man, Pilfer Man. You know that evolution's just a theory.
Well, who do you think would have displayed one of those paper mache fossils? Ron.
But he's got the angels.
He's exactly the kind of guy that would display these kind of frauds. Yeah.
See, Ron doesn't understand. I don't think he knows like what Nebraska Man was because because that's exactly what he's done. He said, "Oh, this is this thing that it's not," and
it's once again, it's just some words that he can throw that.
Yeah.
To some of the people out there that say, "Oh no, it's evolution. Oh no, it must be bad. It's evolution. What are we gonna do?"
It's only a theory. Come on, guys.
Yeah, it's only a theory.
Be pure hoaxes. Sadly, there are those who insist on making everything fit into the so-called scientific history of planet Earth.
Yeah, the so-called science again. Yeah, those so-called scientists.
We need to start getting mad at like Forrest, for propagating all this nonsense. I mean, we got Ron telling us, what the truth is, because I believe him because he's got the angels. Forrest does not have the angel. He's got the theory of evolution. We need to do an intervention with Forrest to get him on the same page as Ron Wyatt. And I think this world would be a much prettier place.
Well, Ron is the man, like I say.
Exactly.
If they would just put him on the Hoffa case, we would have had that wrapped up by now,
Among others.
Yeah.
I think he could be in Seattle looking for and finding Hoffa, and then, on a day excursion, go find somebody else that's been missing, in the same area, coincidental, even though the last time they were seen was in like New York.
Well,
and if you're real quick, Joe, if you want to go ahead and switch over to my Word document there, just so I can show folks that real quick. That's the end of my video presentation. I hope you appreciated the circus tent theme.
Yes,
I couldn't resist. But I tried to. Hopefully that was a fair sampling. I let Ron explain himself at the end, right? So, I mean, he's dead. We can't even email him or anything else. So, but as fair as I can be, I let him explain why he thinks he's right and all the scientists are wrong. And there was his answer. Okay, so take it for what it is.
How do I feel like you just did a Ken Hovind video or something? It's the same thing, the nonsense and the straws you've got to grasp, and but at least, like I said, Ron Wyatt has angels. Ken Hovind doesn't. Ken Hovind has a present number.
I did do a little some fact checking. I mean, to be honest, there's not a lot to fact check when Ken Ham says it's nonsense, right? But I did do a little looking around, so just so everybody knows, and you can see the links here. I put them on my Word document here, and I copied and pasted some stuff, just wrap things up here so everybody knows that, you know, what some of they were saying in the videos is actually exists, and what IP was saying, and maybe somebody else mentioned too. Here is the Answers in Genesis link. And you can go there and see in his own words that the Wyatt claims are truly astonishing. Unfortunately, reputable Bible-believing archaeologists and other experts do not agree. You can go, I'm not going to read it all, obviously, but it does mention that John Baumgartner that was in the video, remember? And we were saying stuff was being misrepresented. Here it is. Even Ken Ham's saying, well, yeah, I mean, they tested some iron in the ground and it was iron, and, you know. So, yeah, you can, I don't like to admit it, but we can agree with Ken Ham here that, and his little, you know, summary of, yeah, basically he didn't find anything. Here's some of the sample numbers that he had tested, which doesn't really mean anything other than that's the composition of the rocks or whatever. So, again, Ron will say, oh, but look, there's, you know, what is it here? There's some dolomite here. Obviously, that means Noah's Ark, right? The stuff he says doesn't mean anything, okay? He just looks at this and goes, oh, I never heard of, what is that, aragonite? Surely that's some miracle thing. Yeah, that's what he does. And Ken Ham, like I say, I'm sourcing Ken Ham here, is pointing out how easy it is to debunk his stuff. This is from AIG, okay?
Yeah.
Now, it's pretty long. I just took out some of it, and that's all of this. So, and there's numerous articles. Ken Ham has numerous times said no. Here's a quick little thing from the Wyatt Museum. You can see they are still selling stuff.
Wow.
Box DVD sets, $99.95, $74.95. Presentation of Discoveries, $25 and $17.95. The Discoveries volume, $35. Discovered Noah's Ark, $25. And you can get the big set for $179.50. Yeah, they're still selling this stuff.
Wow.
So this is current.
And that's cheap for expertise. You know, you'd have to admit that, Dave.
Yeah.
For God's word. Yeah.
And the angels.
Here's the video. It's in the cave. Just go check it out. It's in the cave.
You can see the things God wanted you to see too, for $179.
For $79.50.
Irrefutable, but you just can't see it.
Plus shipping and handling. I'm sure they don't cover that.
No.
And then again, if you want to know more stuff about it, like I say, I'm not going to read all this. I just wanted to show everybody. Yeah, you can look it up. Wiki with the Ron Wyatt. And this is what about the one clip the guy was talking about, that the Council of the Garden Tomb Association totally refutes the claim of Wyatt to have discovered the original Ark of the Covenant, or any other biblical video, artifacts. Dave. Yeah, I know. I better watch my Freudian slips. I might say something I regret. TMI.
I did today. Let me see.
Yeah, or any other biblical artifacts within the boundaries of the area known as the Garden Tomb, Jerusalem. That's where he was digging. Though Wyatt was allowed to dig within this privately owned garden on a number of occasions, the last being 1991. Staff Members Association observed his progress and entered the shaft. Again, so some other people went and looked too. It wasn't just the cameraman guy and his people.
Right.
Some of the people from whoever's in charge went and were looking around too, and they say, hey, there's nothing here, right? And that's basically when they put an end to that.
Yeah.
You can get archaeologist here, Josias, excuse me if that's not how it's pronounced, Zias, of the Israeli Antiquities Authority, the IAA, has stated Ron Wyatt is neither an archaeologist nor has he ever carried out legally licensed excavation in Israel or Jerusalem. You can read about problems with his organization, which is called WAR, the Wyatt Archaeological Research. Lots of problems with that. And then there's numerous stories like these about fraud, about different people involved, things like called the quote, a great Christian scam, claims telephone interviews with people that work there. Not one single person I spoke with on that video presently believes that Ron Wyatt's site is Noah's Ark. So as I said earlier, he will say, oh yeah, and he was out of context. They're kind of nodding and agreeing with him. But officially, none of them think, and as I think Joe pointed out, they know it's a rock, okay? It's a rock. It looks like it does because that's how those rocks form, and that's what it is. It's same thing with the mud fossilers. Just because it looks like something don't mean it ain't a rock, okay? It just is a rock.
Yeah.
So, yeah, again, I'm not going to read it all, but, and just so you know, yeah, Ron Wyatt's Seventh-day Adventists, and Seventh-day Adventists have a lot of views similar to Ken Ham about, like Ben Carson talking about the pyramids were for storing grain and all that stuff, okay? So you can see his background comes already predisposed to throw a saddle on a dinosaur and go for a ride, okay? So that's
You're welcome for Ben Carson from Indiana.
So that's Ron Wyatt going in. He already believed all this stuff going in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about Floridian slips. Aunt Jer, just real quick, I posted it on KA's account just because when I'm on StreamYard and I'm helping him out, we share it for some reason. But Aunt Jer got me today with our the stream we had with Mark today. I had a slip. Well, it wasn't even a slip. I was saying something, then I realized, well, wait a second. That didn't sound right. And thank goodness for Aunt Jer. And she sent me this on Discord. So I had to share it. So if anybody want to watch it, it's like 6 seconds long. I think she might even have it looped of how sometimes I open mouth, insert foot myself. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, just to run through this real quick, and that'll be the end of my my info for everybody. Yeah, again, you can read all this for yourselves. You punch up Ron Wyatt, you can find all this stuff. And yeah, if you want, like I said, I tried to put the links on here so you can see what they are. Yeah, supposedly nonprofit, but they've spoken to television producers who have invested money into Wyatt Archaeological Research for the television rights. And we were talking about that earlier, that he seemed to be selling exclusives to numerous people, which you're not supposed to do. That's what the exclusive means, right? Okay. So Ryan was reselling the exclusives over and over and over again, it seems, to all the different TV. And that's another reason why they probably went quiet immediately after, because they all had egg on their face.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. They all handed him money too to look silly. Okay. And then, like, questions, we were talking about, where's the report from the blood sample analysis of what Ron claims is the blood of Jesus? Where is the Ark of the Covenant? Which museum is housing the ancient chariot wheels he claimed to have been found from the Red Sea crossing? There's no evidence because the video is a fraud. On the Noah's Ark video, all the so-called scientific data cannot be duplicated. And yeah, great Christian scam, etc. And I have those too because I got curious and looked it up. Yeah, here's the great Christian scam. talking about, like I already mentioned, and we think we covered that, all the way up to 2020, the Today Show, Discovery Channel. Well, that's not a surprise, the Discovery Channel. But it's 2020, the Today Show. Like I say, this just wasn't on local news or anything. Okay. And it was covered in other countries too. He was international news. All right. He big time. And these basically says, fraud. And again, if you want to, the long version, I just want to show you. I read it. You want to go read it, Dave likes to do his homework, so it's interesting. And he had quite a scam going on. There's mentions that he was traveling with a lady friend that wasn't his Mrs. Wyatt. He claimed he was staying in cheap hotels when the story was no, he was staying in nice hotels with his girlfriend and having a good time when they weren't going on day trips and finding all these discoveries.
Yeah, things that people have been looking for thousands of years. He found it, like you said, in an hour.
And to be fair, because we don't know, but there is Bernard Brandstatter, also a Seventh-day Adventist, who believed that Ron may have had a mental disease where he actually believed he was finding these things. So we don't know, but that's the way I like to do things. I like to mention that, hey, it is possible, maybe the guy had some issues. So to be fair, we should mention that here's somebody that's saying he thinks that he wasn't quite right. All right.
Right. And not to at least not to mock his possible mental illness by any means. Just the results. That's something I take. I get triggered by when people. Not saying that you are, Dave, by any means.
I think
they say Ron Wyatt did have a mental disease, so it explains what's going on. So
Well, we don't. Nobody wants to mock anybody that he did have a problem. So, us laughing.
Oh shit!
Oh, Dave. He showed me. He'll be back.
No, I did that.
How the hell did you do that?
I don't know.
Oh, Dave, come back, Dave. We love you.
Come back, Dave.
Oh, don't blame this on me. This was Joe. He's an idiot.
It was my fault.
He doesn't have electricity. Remember that, Dave. There he is. Quit it! I'm trying to add him, you butthole.
I got bounced.
I didn't mean to do that.
It wasn't me. I swear, Dave. I would have done more with more flair. Of course, Joe's the same one that shuts down a stream with 5 or 6 people still in here without saying a word. Ask her.
I thought I just read this last little bit. This last little bit here, I think it sums it up pretty good.
Okay.
It was about, again, with the lawyer, and the lawyer persisted that he wanted to see what was in the cave. When the lawyer went down to the bottom of the pit, there was no cave-in. It was just a hole in the ground. There was no tunnel. All sides of the pit were solid. A cave-in would have been easily noticeable. Ron Wyatt simply lied. Coming out of the pit, Ron knew there was no cave-in. Ron Wyatt conned this, talking about themselves, this successful Seventh-day Adventist businessman of thousands of dollars. And I'll wrap up my presentation on Ron Wyatt there.
Yeah.
I thank you, Dave, for the work you put in on this, because this wasn't a, let's throw something together in 5 minutes and throw a circus tent on it and call it, done.
I get a little anal about these things. I do go looking.
The more out there, the better. People need to, if they didn't know, they know now of what, the idiocies that are, if that's even a word, idiocies.
Well, if you make content, you know how much it is. You go through so much, and then you end up cutting most of it out because, you don't want your video to be, 8 hours long. So it gets really difficult because you've read so much, you've watched so much, and you want to cover so much. And then, even like with doing these little clips here, it was tough because there's a lot of stuff. You could just go on and on and on. So, yeah, you got to get selective. And I just try to hit some of the key stuff,
Right.
But
well,
yeah.
I want to show something real quick. Here, hold on. Let me.
And it wasn't Joe that did it. Sidney got it. He said, blame the angels on you getting bounced. Oh, you just have to play this, don't you? And he said, I should have never even brought it up. I'm not. I think it's funny myself. But yeah, I get this email, and I thought, or on Discord, I thought it was you for a second saying, okay, I got power back. And it's Aunt Jur, and it's like, okay, let's read Aunt Jur's, message. And sure enough, there it is. And it's like, and I even called it, I think, in the stream itself, that she would catch me on that, and she did. So I'm immortalized forever. I can die right now, and I know that my legacy will go on. So go ahead and play it.
God.
So I can laugh at my own stupidity. Did you play it?
I still hear it playing.
I don't hear it. Does anybody else hear it?
I don't hear it. It dropped off.
Yeah, put it back up there and see, play it because it's actually funny. I meant it as, I called myself. I guess that didn't sound right. Yeah, no one else can hear it either, Joe.
It's because I streamed it from YouTube.
Yeah. I quit doing that. I save everything now. So.
This is a lot of work for 6 seconds. That's what she said. I know.
Everybody has tech issues.
Yeah.
You just gotta roll. You just gotta roll with it.
Oh, come on! I want to be famous.
Did you not hear it?
I didn't hear Jack.
We got no audio.
Yeah, I saw Mark's head moving a little bit, and
yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe I didn't. Hold on.
Either that, or I may just download it to my page, my channel. Because if you can't make fun of yourself, you have no right making fun of others. And I tell you what, we've got some of the smartest and sarcastic sons of bitches in the side chat, and I wouldn't trade them for anything. And they're funny as hell on a lot of shit.
Appreciate everybody in the chat. You're awesome. Always appreciate all the comments. Lots of fun. Yeah, I love.
At one point, we had up to 22 people or so in here. That's That's
I love having the community out and everything, having a good time.
Yep.
Hope you learned a few things about Ron Wyatt you may not have known.
Or you may not have want to know, but you know it now.
Or maybe you didn't know anything at all, and now you do. So, and yeah, he does seem to be making a resurgence among the conspiracy folks, like I mentioned earlier. They're hiding it from you, and because basically, like I said, everybody had egg on their face, from the religious leaders to the media, that all kind of realized the next day that they had gotten taken. And nobody ever really said anything. Nobody retracted anything. Nobody came out and preached, hey, remember that guy I was talking about last Sunday? Forget that, right? Everybody just said, nope, it never happened, right? It just, they were all so embarrassed. And so, of course, that's great for the conspiracy folks. Now they can swoop right in and say, aha, they're hiding it from you.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, my comments on this would be, follow in the words of Ron Wyatt. Whenever somebody's making outrageous claims of stuff like this, go check that evidence for yourself. Go look at it. Tell them you want to see it. Tell them you want to see the evidence, and look at it. And whenever Ron was put to that task, he failed horribly. So. These things have been.
That's why I always, that's why I always try to give all the other views too. I don't want to, You know, I mean, obviously, you know, we have our view coming in here, and, you know, us chuckling and, you know, having a little fun with it is evident of that. But Dave likes to be fair at the captive desk, even with things I do not believe in, even things I may find ridiculous. I try to be as fair as possible, and that's why I made sure to go to, what did the believers say about Ron Wyatt? And as I pointed out, the only one out of everybody, Ron even said, out of all the creationist scientists, which means all these organizations like Ken Ham, ICR, everybody else, all reject him. The only friend he has in the world is who? Kent Hovind.
Yeah, Hovind.
Dr. Dino. I love the way he messed that all up. Dr. Dino, Kent Hovind.
Hovind. Like I said, I call him.
Well, he got his eyes
anyway.
completely backwards. Like he used a long I sound for Hovind, and then used the E sound that I makes for Dino. Dino.
We got two.
But yeah, I mean, I think that was a really thorough look at what, you know, Ron Wyatt says he did, what other people say about what he did, and what people who were actually witnesses to it had to say about it.
And since I did a whole ton of homework, if you guys got any questions, or if anybody's in the chat's got any questions, something I may, you know, left you wondering on or something like that.
Well, how much longer we're going to...
I know way too much Ron Wyatt stuff now.
Go ahead and ask
something
something about Ron Wyatt.
So, yeah, if anybody, if you guys got any questions or whatever.
Well, did you want to open up the room, Joe? Maybe somebody could pop in and talk about this, or something else that they want, or you got to run?
No, I mean, we're going on 3 hours. I'm probably going to just, I mean, I don't think there's really a lot of, you know, if somebody's got something they really want to say about it, I mean, yeah, I'll let you come in, but I don't think that, I mean, I think that was pretty thorough beating of Ron Wyatt.
If you want to know if it's going to rain later, I have to,
the way
I have to get my,
to be honest.
I have to get my tarot cards.
He's got the experts, he's got the idiots, and, you know, make your own decision, and you know, which I don't see how anybody could go with, you know, the Ron Wyatt side at all. But at least both sides are there, it's fair.
I put links in my description, and yeah, Joe, if you want to copy them over to yours later, they're in my description, the channel links, so you can go watch it yourself.
Yeah, I'll do that as soon as we get off here.
Sydney, to find out if it's going to rain later, I have to get out the tarot cards and get Robin involved. And
yes, we're professionals around here. We just don't do anything willy nilly.
Yeah. We don't just make
especially about the rain.
Yeah, but if
our rain's serious, Sydney, I don't know what they do down in your area.
One of the Robin and I, we have plans. One of these days down the road here, we're gonna do a little revisit on the tarot stuff and do a little, because she said she wasn't really prepared, and there was some other things or whatever. And I said, well, we can talk about it again. So hit me up for a forecast when I hook up with Robin. Okay.
Or until then, have a rope, go outside, hang it. So you go out there and look. If it's dry, you know it ain't raining.
If my knees bothering me, it's gonna rain. So
yeah,
I can tell you. I can tell you that much. Dave's knee sure feels when the pressure changes. As soon as my knee bothers me, I hit the weather. Then, sure enough, the barometer is doing up or down. So.
All right. Well, wow, the video just caught up there.
Yeah. See, I don't know, man. Is Bread of Life in the chat wishing the demons on me or something?
You're well, I mean, and now it's back in sync just fine. But
I got a lot of places had weather, and we just it's like most of our snow's melted off. We did get some snow here yesterday, but then they're talking about 50s again in Fahrenheit. That's Fahrenheit. Yeah, 50s Fahrenheit again this week. So We're having a really mild winter here, so us northern folks aren't complaining too much.
Yeah. It's, it just took a dive here last night and went down like into the 20s here.
Did it go down kind of like your electricity?
Yeah. So that's a thing around here. Like when it gets real cold, the electricity might go off for a few hours or a day.
My neighbor tried to electrocute himself when I was having my stream in August.
Yeah.
So if anybody can top that,
but,
right in the middle, dead center in the middle. I heard it go pop.
You got anything else going on, Dave, you want to talk about coming up?
We'll do a reminder later then.
Well, I did. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too much, but Trees broke 200 subs. So way to go, Trees. And
I've been watching his shit about the knives and stuff. I love knives.
Yep. So yeah, Trees does his reviews on outdoor equipment and knives and stuff. Go check it out at Look at the Trees. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit that. He broke 200, so good for him. Trees and I started about the same time, so we got kind of a kinship going there. So it's kind of neat, so he's right behind me, so he's catching up. And
look at the trees. Come on, buddy.
And then some things have happened, and Trees also lost a friend, and so we've had a little break from doing the Grass Man. I hope everybody understands. It's not forgotten about. We are going to get things going again. Sometimes life just has a little hiccup there, and I told Trees, I was like, it's a YouTube show, man. You got to go take care.
Yeah.
He's helping out he's helping out the family and everything, and hey, man, So,
Hey, Jimmy.
He has been doing some videos again, and we're talking about doing one, and then we might do a little celebrate. And I got some videos I got to cut up on our buddy Martin Isles. Might roast him a little bit. And I'm going to do a revisit. I don't know if I'm in the mood. Maybe I'll do it after this. I don't know. I got stuff about ready. I did the Troy Black video a couple months ago where he made NFL predictions. Well, the season's over. So I want to take a quick little revisit. And I also threw some other stuff on there. Troy was talking to God. And God told Troy that evolution is hogwash. So there you go. From the divine wisdom itself, the creator of the universe
hogwash.
is hogwash.
Yeah.
So you can clearly see, I'm going to point out in his, I made a little rundown of his channel, and when you scan through his videos on his channel, you can see that God is oddly interested in a lot of the things that the Republican Party is interested in.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. The vaccinations, the climate change.
The holy party. Come on, guys.
And he fancies himself special because he likes to do earthquake predictions, very vague ones, and as we all know, earthquakes happen all the time. And the one he made about was in Oklahoma. And I looked it up, and Oklahoma had like 2,000 shakers last year, which is how many a day? But he thinks he really nailed that one right from God, that Oklahoma would have an earthquake. So,
right.
Wow.
And there's a lot of Elons, and there's a lot of Trumps, and very, very odd that God only cares about what the Republican Party seems to care about. So,
yeah.
And he gets.
I'm gonna jump in here really quick because I don't want to forget because I've seen Jimmy the Tux in here, But a reminder
Oh, yeah.
for everybody, and also Earl and Matters Now, that Jimmy the Tux
Go
will be
check
on
out.
Matters Now. So
What time is that?
it's actually 7 o'clock, isn't it, Earl and Jimmy? With one of the two, I believe it's 7 o'clock
7
tonight.
7
They're gonna do their
Eastern
shorts where he's a guest.
in
They're gonna go
in
through
real
some
time, in the real time zone, Eastern.
I think so.
I think it's 8 Eastern, actually. But
Is it 80? Yeah, because he's in
8
7,
a.m.
isn't he?
Okay, so Eastern 8 p.m. and whoever was talking about it was 7. So yeah.
Okay,
support
in real time
Matters
it's 8
Now,
o'clock.
Support Earl and support Jimmy, and maybe that's where I got it because Jimmy put it in there and he's different.
He's
time.
he's central.
That makes sense
Yeah.
now. Yeah, but yeah, show your support if you would. I'm going to be there. Okay, I'm done. Now you can go back to your normal schedule. Just a PSA, because I'm afraid of
And
Earl. I don't want to be elected.
I've always got some stuff. Like I said, I got my microscope stuff I'm doing too. So I'm going to do that when I get the chance with my little microcosm corner, because I thought the stuff was really neat and I would share it. And I'm looking for tardigrades. So the mission is to find a tardigrade. And I figured with the warm weather coming, there should be all kind of larvae and everything in my pond. So I'm hoping to get a lot of cool little videos
Why
there.
don't you do something that's memorable, Dave, like Jesus dirt? I mean, Ron Wyatt did it. Why can't you get some dirt and show us what,
Well, like I said, I've got
he already
2,
has
4,
the water
6, 8.
Yeah.
I've got 9 jars over there under the plant light, and yeah, that's what I did.
Dirt.
Well, I get my samples. Well, the pond water is its own sample, but like the moss and stuff like that, I put in there, and then I add a little filtered water, and you let it sit for a few days, and everything kind of gets into the water. Then you take the drop of water and you put it on the microscope, and you see all the little things swimming around. And
To me, that sounds like the hokey pokey, Dave. You stick something in, you stick something out, you shake it all.
It is truly amazing how much life is going on in one drop of water. There's in some of the slides, I couldn't even count all the things that are wiggling and squiggling. So, and I will say, when you look at your water out of the tap, if it's treated, there's not much in there. So be grateful for treated water, because especially if you get the willies really easy, you don't want to know what's in that water that was in that pond or that creek or something you were swimming in. You really don't.
Eating. You think it's
Just
there's stuff everywhere.
Just the amount of nematodes is mind blowing. The worms, all these kind of worms are just everywhere, and wash your hands because one drop of water is truly amazing, and I think it's just really great. So I thought I'd share it with everybody. So that's going to be my little side thing. So.
Yeah, I laugh because I watch a lot of Naked and Afraid. So they're always searching for water. And it's like, oh, is this water? And I always think about microscopes. It's like, ooh, can you imagine what's in there? And what, because there's going to be parasites.
I call that show 21 Days of Slow Starvation.
Yeah. And I only watch usually the first part of it just to check out the girl's butt. I'm not going to lie. It's not scientific.
There was only a couple of them that ever managed to survive without being sunburnt and starving and needing medical care. There's only a couple of them ever really.
And most of them lose double-digit weight. It's like self-abuse. I respect
that's why I gotta laugh about these people that think they're survivalists and all this stuff and everything. And I'm like, yeah, you're gonna be one of those people that gives up after 2 days because you got sunburn and you're hungry.
Camping in your backyard with a fire is not roughing it whatsoever, with your blanket and
I got a fire pit. I know I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Just throw some gasoline on it, be good to go.
I'm a survivalist. All I gotta do is go to 7-Eleven and get anything I want and go back to the wilderness.
That's my policy. I said, if I can live about anywhere, as long as it's not too far from a convenience store.
Right.
Because
exactly.
That's roughing it. You get too far from the convenience store.
I'm not a survivalist. I'm not even gonna act like I am.
If I want a candy bar, I want a candy bar. Dang
Right.
it.
If I want a Diet Coke, because I don't drink it very often, I want it. Like right now, I'm drinking it, and I shouldn't be, but
You don't have to make a fire and shit. Like,
I got a Bic lighter here. What's the big deal? I don't need a fire starter.
Well, hey,
That is the fire starter.
Well, like I say, if anybody does, want to ask me anything or something, drop it in the comments. I'll try to answer you if you got anything. Because like I say, I got lots of Ron Wyatt in my head. So yeah, feel free to drop a comment, ask a question or whatever. Or if you think I got something wrong or something, let us know and we'll correct it. All right.
yeah. So, other than that, I guess the only thing I've got, Nadir coming next Sunday to what he says is going to be he wants to talk about Christianity, but I already know how this is going to go, and whatever, like he says that atheists are running from him, so
well, that's what he was telling Mark. That's what he was telling Mark Reed as he's sitting there debating him.
Oh, I know.
The atheist won't talk to me, and Mark's like, aren't we here to they were on MDD, by the way, in case folks didn't know. So
yeah, so
Mark kind of got into that a little bit earlier, when he was on this morning, and because I started watching it, then I said no, I don't want to watch it because I knew Nadir was coming here, and I didn't want to have a predisposition of what I thought, which I already do. Islam, theist, doesn't matter. It's
what's the topic? What's the topic, Joe?
He says he wants to talk about, the things that Christianity gets wrong as far as, scientific things and things to do with morality and stuff like that. And, and I'm like, okay, fine. You can come talk about that stuff. But as soon as he shoehorns Islam into there, I'm not going to let him get away with that or anything. It's not like it, he's gonna have some things to say about Christianity, but his go-to is, well, Islam explains it so much better, and so I don't care if we have to talk about both of those things in the same stream.
Right. You can ask Joe. I was resistant to this, but I should just trust Joe. Everything else has worked out so far. I mean, to one degree or another, and even just exposing Islam and how somebody talks like a Momo might, be my justification of doing this.
And if you're watching my channel, make sure you go subscribe to the Kentucky Atheist, and Asho also is on there doing his thing too. So go check them out.
Don't forget,
and if you're on Kentucky Atheist channel, subscribe over here at the Captive Desk.
Yeah.
Because you never know what's going to be on my channel.
Yeah. And there's Dave's 2 channels that he's part of that I know of.
And with the Grassman Chronicles, I do with Look at the Trees. Yeah. And we also sometimes have guest hosts. And if anybody has a cryptid story, a ghost story, an abduction story, a UFO story, a bump in the night story, a palm reader story, anything like that you ever want to talk about, get a hold of me at Asho. What's my email?
I'm a dumbass.
No. Come on. All hail Bigfoot at gmail.com. It's easy to remember. If you know me, all hail Bigfoot. Put the Gmail thing after there and get a hold of me. I'm always happy to have you on the Grassman, or we can have you on the Captive Desk if it's unrelated to the Grassman.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess that's. I think we did it all. So
great show, great talking with you guys.
Yeah, thanks so much,
Thank
everybody.
you, Dave, for preparation and your time.
Yeah, check out the links that are in the description, but I'll also add all the stuff.
Like, share, subscribe.
All right.
Tell your friends. Invite your friends. Get those sock accounts out. Where's those sock accounts? Drop them.